watching this show the other night was outtakes, and they were on take 231.
We're good now?
That's some really,
Thanks, Bob.
really.
Okay, we'll try again. Good evening and welcome to the October 22nd, 2013 meeting of the Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen and Sewer Commissioners. May we have the roll call, please?
Present is Selectman Whiteside, Selectman Tropiano, Selectman Holmes, Selectman Slavin, Selectman Teitelbaum. Town Administrator Derek Sullivan is here. He just left to get a video machine, and his designee is here also.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go out of order here just briefly under 8F for town business. We've got a solar update from Sage Power. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Nice to see you again. And,
Likewise.
Good news, further good news, I guess. The project, the solar project in Plymouth, that is your solar project in terms of you getting the net metering credits, is in construction and scheduled to be complete in the spring of next year. So there's a press release that I left with Derek. I'll give you an extra copy. Our partner, EDF, which is the largest energy company in the world, is in the process of building that out with their contractors. The press release kindly mentions the town of Wareham, and I will read you just the one sentence that does mention you, which says that this ground mount fixed tilt solar photovoltaic project is located in Plymouth, Massachusetts. The power generated will be delivered to the town of Wareham, Massachusetts, under a long-term power purchase agreement pursuant to the state's virtual net metering credits program. So there's a little bit more detail in here, but I just wanted to come tonight and give you a brief update and let you know that it is happening, it's in construction, it's real, and answer any questions you might have.
Okay, Selectman Slavin and then Selectman Holmes.
Good to see you again. I asked you to come back in because we get constant updates from the state, and I want to make sure everything's on track and be proactive with this because we didn't want to have any surprises down the line. You have a December 31st date for the state. You'll be able to meet all the requirements for that date.
Right. The state DOER has issued guidance on what they call construction timelines.
Yep.
And what they've determined in that is that you just have to obligate 50% of your total construction costs by the end of this year, December 31st. And it's not that you have to be halfway done constructing it, it's that you have to have obligated those dollars, which we will have done earlier than that deadline through contracts for the equipment and the construction.
Okay. If you could just keep us up to date, just send us a note, whatever's required, paperwork, so we know where we are.
Absolutely, be happy to do that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Selectman Holmes?
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
It's good to see you smiling too.
Yeah, it's all
That's
going
always
well.
important. You know what I always ask you when I see you is, when do you expect that the statement is going to say that Wareham has achieved a certain dollar threshold in our energy?
You'll start getting dollars or savings, it looks like, in the spring, and I can't say exactly what date, but the press release says spring 2014. Our construction schedule says April or May at this point as a operational deadline.
Yeah,
so
that's what I was thinking.
yeah.
I was thinking May, but
Yeah,
I'm glad you threw April in there.
April would be good. I think May is probably realistic.
Yeah.
Okay,
great.
So,
Well,
anyway,
let us know, if you need anything. And I'm sure the chairman will put you on there anytime you want to come in and,
Yeah, absolutely.
give us a briefing because that's an exciting project for us. As you know, I pushed real hard to get you
Yeah.
to get those dollars, and I can't wait till April, May.
Yeah, we are very, very appreciative of the town's partnership and patience as this has kind of gotten to the finish line or gotten to this point. I know it's not been, easy all the time to figure out, exactly what's happening when, but all the ducks are in a row and all the contracts are in place and all the state approvals are in place. So it is happening, and it's really
and a
exciting.
lot of the department heads worked real hard and came together to get all that information that we needed, remember, and all that work that they did. And so he's not here, but Mr. Sullivan was a big help and continues to be a big help every day on that project. So kudos to all of you, and I can't wait for the first bill. We're going to frame that or do something with it, right? We got, Mr. Chairman, we have to do something with that first.
Yeah, well, that's some kind of a ceremony.
We should have something, yeah, because that's
Maybe
kind
a
of historic.
giant check or something.
Well, that would be good too. We could do that.
Yeah, with a
On
giant
your-
number,
cause-
that'd be nice too.
Because you're paying for that event.
I'll certainly attend.
All joking aside, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate
we appreciate it very much as well. Thank you.
Selectman Tropiano?
Okay, I just have a couple questions, if you don't mind. What's the output of this project? How many acres are we talking about, and what's the output?
It's the project's located in Plymouth.
Right.
It's on a site of approximately 37 acres. Not all of that is, got the panels on it, but that's the size of the site. The project size is just under 6 megawatts
6
DC.
6 megawatts, okay.
Yeah, so it's as big as you can go for a single parcel of land in Massachusetts for a solar project.
Okay, one other question is, obviously, when they did the testings, they got a number of refusals, or didn't get refusals, or whatever it was, and I work on some of these projects, so I know. I just did one in Fall River,
Okay.
and the cost skyrocketed because they got 1 in 10 refusals when they did the testing, and we had like one that wasn't a refusal out of 10 in the ultimate. It was full of rocks.
Yeah.
And we ended up with just crazy, and it cost a fortune in extra costs. How does that affect us if there's an additional cost to the construction? I mean, is the whole thing that you gave us is probably based on the cost of construction or the estimated cost of construction?
No, actually,
No,
you're
I
held.
know- I know. I
you're
don't
held
know if this is
harmless.
right. I just want to ask the
Yeah.
questions.
Well, first of all, you're held harmless. Your contract
Okay.
is simply to receive the net metering credits on your bill
Okay, good.
and keep a percentage of that.
Awesome, we like that.
Whatever the cost is, it doesn't matter to the town of Wareham.
Okay, that's good.
But we did do extensive geotechnical testing, and it's one of the few sites that is completely sand to a great depth.
Well, Plymouth
yeah.
is like that, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying that you were
Yeah.
going to run into those
Yeah.
problems. I just wanted to know what the cost or the reduction to us, if there was anything that was going to happen to us as a result of it. That's all I care about, really.
Nope, you're held harmless from that.
Awesome,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
That's what I needed to
You're
know.
welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Selectman Whiteside, anything?
Thank you.
No, well, I'm heartened to hear that you're on track. I don't think you'll have any problems spending the 50% of the money between now and New Year's. It's not in the construction field, so let us know when that happens, and we can reference that milestone being achieved, and then we'll look forward to the facility coming online and go from there. And like Selectman Holmes said, I don't know if we can declare a holiday, but maybe we can have some kind of little event.
That'd be
Anything else from the board?
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, and the town itself. And we would love to have you come out and visit the site, as it's at a ribbon cutting ceremony as well. So we'll make sure you're invited to that. But we will keep you informed with the construction as it progresses and each of the milestones. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
One more. Great, thank you. One more out of order agenda item. I had a call from Director Campina earlier, wondering if he needed to come in, a voicemail. I called back and left a voicemail for him saying that since all we had on here was the routine sewer commitment billing from them, he didn't need to bother. Apparently he broke every speed law in the state and got here anyway. So I'd like to take him out of order so that he can come up, just tell us, we know what it is, but just tell the public what it is, and he can be on his merry way.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have the commitment tonight for the first half billing of Wareham sewer usage. That's what's tonight. We're asking you to sign that so we can get the bills out. And then once this is out, we'll immediately start working on the omitted, the partials for the first half. And we'll get those out. There's approximately 100 of those, so we'll get those out as soon as we can. But what we're asking for tonight is the signing of the commitment so we can actually get bills out.
Any questions?
No?
Okay, can we have a motion, please? Or a question?
Just one question, Guy. There was an article in, let's see,
It was the,
Bourne newspaper, I believe we have, on Bourne is looking to possibly do 2 different projects. Mentioned to you a couple, I think yesterday. And just wanted to update how that might affect us long-term.
There's no effect. How it will affect us, we'll be able to bill them for the portion of their sewer they're not using. We've committed 200,000 gallons to the town of Bourne through the IMA. They're using approximately 100,000, so they've got quite a bit left to use. So as they use those gallons, then we'll be able to bill because we get a reading from them quarterly. So how it affects us is we'll start billing. We've accounted for those gallons as far as our capacity. So they're all accounted for. We accounted for the whole 200,000 gallons. So it's not going to affect us that way. It's just going to be more revenue when they actually get online. They've got a couple of really good projects. I think they're senior citizen housing that they're working on and some other things. Plus they're doing a downtown expansion. So they've got a lot of, I think about 250,000 gallons they're going to need total. So they've got other plans to try to get that 250,000 gallons.
Okay, so basically we are not going to be losing the revenue from them. They're still going to use our facility.
No, we're going to gain revenue because we're not charging them for the gallons they're not using now. We committed to 200.
Right.
We're not charging them for that, so we'll gain that revenue. In other words, that committed gallons become usable gallons, billable gallons.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
motion to sign the usage commitment letter presented by Mr. Campino.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavens, motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0. Anything else for Mr. Campino while he's up here?
Thank you.
You're all set, you're free to go, and you didn't have to come in the first place.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is announcements. Mrs. Whiteside.
I have several, actually. This month, at the end of the month, Wareham Public Schools are holding an art show at Wareham Crossing. Students from all grade levels, their work will be on display. The opening reception for the show will be held Thursday, October 24th from 3 to 7 p.m. Refreshments will be served and activities for children will be available. The exhibit, which is going to be located inside the former Friendly location, will remain on display through October 27th during the hours of 3 to 7. All of the refreshments and the area where they're holding it has been donated, which is great. I've seen some of the artwork and it looks really great. Bog Fright is coming back on October 25th, 26th, and 27th, beginning at 6 p.m. each day through A.D. Makepeace's Tyhonet Village property. There are different acts and entertainment. Johnny Basement plays classic rock. Kaleidoscope of Dance and Gymnastics will perform. Showstoppers are going to perform. And the proceeds from the event, which are really fun actually, will benefit Wareham Born, Upper Cape Tech, and Onset Youth Center and Mass Children's Relief. Tickets are between $7 or $9, depending on how old you are or aren't. You can make reservations. It's also, Makepeace Farms is also open during the Bog Fright, so you can get hot chocolate, coffee, and some of their yummy food. Tryouts for Wareham Youth Soccer travel teams are being held on Sunday, October 27th at the John Deacus Elementary School on Main Street. The travel teams are the feeder program for the high school varsity and junior varsity, both boys and girls. The tryouts are mandatory for anyone who wants to be on one of the travel teams. Under 8, under 9, under 10 players are trying out from 12 to 1. Under 11, under 12, and under 13 players try out from 1:30 to 2:30. Under 14 through under 18 will try out from 12 to 2:30, and you need to have a $40 deposit. It's great fun to watch the younger ones play, including the older ones. The Summer of Celebration, Alan, I'm taking a lot of your wind, I think. Summer of Celebration is having a wine testing on Wednesday, November 6th from 5:30 to 7:30, at Eastern Bank. Tickets are going to cost $20 and will benefit the Summer of Celebration. The Girl Scouts of Wareham will be trick-or-treating in costume this Sunday, October 27th, for the 6th annual Trick-or-Treat So Others Can Eat. If you receive an orange flyer in your mailbox, expect to see trick-or-treaters at your door on Sunday. And please help those who are less fortunate this holiday season by donating non-perishable items. All items collected will be given to the Church of the Good Shepherd Soup Kitchen. There are not enough Girl Scouts in town to trick-or-treat at every home, so if you do not receive an orange flyer in your mailbox, you can still donate by dropping off any non-perishable food items to the Church of the Good Shepherd, 74 High Street, on Sunday the 27th between 2 and 4. Thank you very much.
Selectman Tropiano?
I'm good. I'm all set this.
Selectman Holmes?
Now, I've been out of town the last 2 weeks. I haven't visited locals. I do see folks picking up the leaves. And what was the other thing? Oh, a reminder that town meeting is next Monday. Do you want to look at the calendar like you did last week, or is next Monday okay?
I don't know. Dereker's designee is blocking it. I'm not sure I can see.
Mr. Chairman, are we okay with next Monday?
Yeah, I think we can meet then.
Okay, 7 o'clock?
Sharp.
All right. That's about it.
Okay. Have just an update report. The hotel project over at the facility on Rosebrook is going to be basically foundation is going to be laid, and the hotel construction itself will start in the spring. They will take 1 year to do the project, so we will not have the hotel available, unfortunately, for the Celebration 2014 timeframe. But they can't do much over the winter, so it's been pushed back to there. But everything's on schedule. That was today. Police Department has done a release, Wareham Police Department, to participate in the DEA National Drug Take-Back Initiative. DEA and local police offer prescription drug disposal. They've done this for a couple of years now. It will be done at the, looks like the Wareham Fire Department, located at 273 Main Street, from 10 to 2 p.m. on October 26th, which is a Saturday. For those of you under 70, probably, the Rocky Horror Show is going to be done by, well, obviously we have a fan out there. Will be done by the Buzzards Bay Playhouse. I'll give you the show times and dates. Probably bring some plastic to keep yourself dry when everything else goes on. You can dress any way you want because it's usually done that way. Show times are October 24th to 26th, 8 p.m. October 31st, 8 p.m. November 1st and 2nd, 8 p.m. Special midnight shows, those are really special. October 26th, October 31st, November 2nd. We were at a meeting this past week, and item came up that would probably be of interest. Anybody holding a CDL license, the state basically allows you to self-renew. I have to use the term, so I can remember what that was.
Yeah, it is a self-renewal or a self-recertification or something along those lines.
Self-certification. You have to get this done by January 2014, or you lose that ability to do the self one. You have to go through the whole test, paperwork, get scheduled for appointments, and these appointments go out 2 and 3 months. So if someone has a CDL, they don't get it done by the end of January, they could basically not be able to drive the vehicles.
What is this?
CDL license.
What about it?
They have a renewal process, which is they've been able to self-renew, self-certification. If they don't have the certification done by January 2014, they'll have to go back and do the whole process. The state has put a cutoff date.
This is something I've never heard of. I've got a CDL for a gazillion years.
I'm just telling you what we were told at a meeting last week
Never heard of
by
it.
the state.
It's a good thing you asked him what, then, isn't
I
it?
have to ask why, because I've never heard of this. I go to the registry, my renewal time like everybody else. The only thing I have to take is my hazmat, which you have to take the test every 2 years. Other than that, I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, this was something that came up at the Plymouth County Road Commissioners last week.
Yep.
Yeah, their semi-annual meeting over in Plymouth. We went over
I have
there,
no
and
clue what they're talking about.
the chairman of that body informed everybody to make sure that their municipal maintenance people got their certifications. and
Must
that
be
they didn't want to
certified
lose
or
it
something
because it would be a real pain to get it back. So you might want to check this with the state DOT on that one.
I'll check into it, but I have nothing. I'll have to find
So
out.
This may have proved
I'll let
useful for
everybody
you.
know when I find out what it's all about.
And last, I believe the Cedar has a meeting on the 24th at 5:30. Rudy, is that going to be at Town Hall Auditorium? And that will be getting input, I believe, for the grants going forward for the new year? That's all I have.
I just have one thing. Earlier today, I had the pleasure of going up to Beacon Hill at the invitation of Representative Susan Gifford to testify to the Joint Committee on Housing in support of House Bill 1115, which is her bill to amend the definitions under Chapter 40B of affordable housing for low and moderate income to include mobile homes, in-law apartments, the educational facilities, so-called, that pop up around town, and things of that nature. It was interesting to sit there, listen to a whole bunch of 40B issues coming up, because there was more than one bill, of course, that the Joint Committee was hearing testimony on. We're hardly the only community in the state that's looking to do something with 40B, I can tell you that. But anyway, it was a pleasure to do that, and I just wanted the public to know that that took place. Next item, please.
Citizen participation? Anyone? That's the first.
Apparently not.
Consent agenda. Don't have any bills today. Next up would be the interview and appointment for Housing Authority.
Yes, we have Mr. Lockwood.
Yes, we do.
Good evening. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and why it is you would like to serve on the Wareham Housing Authority?
My name is Bill Lockwood. I'm a local architect. I was approached by Mr. Santos and Mr. Politis to see whether I'd be interested in serving on the committee. Previously, I've served the town in on the housing partnership, partly as the chairman of that. I'm an architect with 40 years of experience, much of it in housing, much of it in single family, also considerable multifamily housing experience. I think housing is one of the most important things that government can do for its citizens, and so I'd be interested in serving.
Thank you. Questions from the board for Mr. Lockwood?
Just for information, this will be the replacement for Donald Hall's seat, who resigned. Correct? Thank you.
Okay, well, we meet jointly on these occasions with the Housing Authority and vote collectively as to whether to appoint. This is what we did previously when I believe Mr. Santos was appointed. I'm not quite sure how you came to be on here. Were you a state find,
No.
Bob?
No, he replaced,
No, I know Rudy was, but
Mr. Benoit.
what about you?
Me?
How'd you land on this?
I was elected.
Elected.
Ah, okay, that's right, you ran.
I beat the blanks.
You killed him too, I'll bet. You slayed him, didn't you?
Pardon?
Not have a joint meeting with the housing authority. You can have a discussion with them. Cannot be a meeting because it's not posted.
Use the mic.
Well, I think it's implicit in the appointment process. We don't have Attorney Bowen here, unfortunately, to ask.
Well, you need to have if you're gonna call it a meeting, just call it a discussion. And that keeps you within the law.
Well, that's fair. Discussion with the Housing Authority and vote. We noticed a vote, so the public knows there's a vote to take place. So I think we can go ahead with the,
Fine until you call it a joint meeting of two boards.
well,
The other
it's
board
you may be
will
right.
have
It's a
posted
technical
the
distinction.
meeting.
In any event, do you gentlemen have any questions for Mr. Lockwood?
Has
I
your
think
board voted?
Bill's done a fine job. I've known Bill. I think he'll be a great addition.
We didn't vote, we met with Mr. Lockwood.
You need to use the
Yeah,
mic.
you gotta basically,
Mike, please.
Mr. Lockwood came to our past meeting. We interviewed him and had discussion. We didn't take a formal vote on it. We saved our vote for here. But we are prepared to vote.
How many members do we have now in place?
Pardon me?
How many members do you have in place?
We have three members on the board.
So you only have two here, though.
Two are here.
And Mrs. Barrows, I think, is back, I believe.
Back and gone.
Do they have a posted meeting here tonight?
No.
Then they can't vote.
so I'm trying, no, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, they can't vote.
No, your concern was a joint meeting. His concern is they
Can
don't,
you vote, don't you? You have to.
they unfortunately don't have
Cannot
a
meet with Mr.
quorum.
Santos on Housing Authority business unless you posted a meeting 48 hours in advance.
Right.
So just let it go and let us take our vote and have a discussion with you. We're asking for your
And you can
input.
vote later.
Chair did.
You'll have a,
Let us
ma-
vote.
you'll have a majority, let's put it that way.
It's not about the majority.
Likely.
It's about the posting.
Right, we
Right, but we're talking about getting it done tonight. We can still
can do that.
accomplish that.
Sure, yeah.
So with that in mind, may we have a motion to appoint Mr. Lockwood?
So moved.
Second?
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Slavin.
Can the clerk read the motion, please?
Can
So
do.
we have the dates on the
Dates and
record.
everything? Board of Selectmen and the, I can't say the Wareham Housing, have appointed you as a member of the Wareham Housing Authority to expire to a term no later than April 30th, 2014.
So moved over
William
there.
H. Lockwood.
That's for you.
I just asked it to be read. So
Yep.
it's on the record.
No, the date is
Fine.
good, you need that anyway. Just, otherwise we'd appoint you to an indefinite term, and I don't know that you want that or they want that. All set, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. You've made it by a clear majority.
Congratulations, Bill.
Is there anything else?
I'll see you over the
No.
summer and see if you,
You have
see
to
if
meet-
you're still happy then, right?
Rudy, you have to meet and vote and then
April
fill out the form
2014,
here.
I get to,
What?
and I'm good till April 2014.
14.
Right. There are certain terms when you fill the, you know how that works.
Which means you can run again next.
Well, you can get renewed by
Yeah.
just saying you want to renew. A little letter, and we can renew you.
It depends on which one he has. There's elected, there's appointed by the governor, and then there's appointed here.
Yeah,
It's
so-
kind of a weird,
well, what is
it's
it?
a weird setup.
Well, which one is it that we did?
We're filling a
Elected.
unexpired term here.
But is it an
This is
appointed
an-
term?
No, this isn't elected, and because the person resigned, we're not filling the term.
Okay, so it's elected term, so
It's
you
a
have to
comp-
run for office.
Yeah, he has to run for office.
Okay.
That's why it's
So this-
2014.
So this
Okay.
slot will be on the ballot.
Yep.
So next year you'll feel our pain.
Next year you'll be on the ballot.
Thank you for stepping up to serve. It's got the makings of a great board coming into shape here. And we're glad to have you assisting these people.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you as well,
Thank
gentlemen,
you.
Thank you.
for your positive recommendation.
Nice to see you, Rudy. Thank you. Haven't seen you in a long time.
Next, we have the Conservation Commission. Donald Rogers is an existing member. I think it fell through the cracks. We never actually voted for reappointment. I'll make a motion to appoint Donald J. Rogers to a member of the Conservation Commission for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2016.
Motion made
Second.
by Selectman Slavin and seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you to Mr. Rogers for stepping up again.
Next, Mr. Tufts. Mr. Tufts has applied for the Master Plan Committee as a citizen at large.
Good evening.
Hi.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why the interest in serving on the Master Plan Committee?
Well, I'm a newer resident to Wareham. Been here approximately 5 years and just brought my registration down here. I had been a selectman in Easton and on the Finance Committee in Easton, and I still have property there, and I just never brought my residency here. But now I'm here in Wareham, and I've worked on master plan before, and it's a way to get to know about everything in the community because you touch about every aspect, and I feel that I can offer some perspective. I know that in my former life, my former days, I thought everything revolved around the town of Easton, and then how everything happened there. And then, you know, I come to Wareham and I see how things are done here, and that, you know, that we could use we could have done things in some respect to the way Wareham does it, and vice versa, I imagine. So, and the thing, of course, with the master plan is do you want to have a you know, usable document, or do you just want to do it for bond rating purposes? You know, what's the real goal? And trying to keep, the real battle is trying to keep agendas out of it and just try to come with a future forecast for the community.
Well, thank you for that very mature perspective on what a master plan committee is supposed to do. Selectman Whiteside?
I just want to say that you clearly have many years of experience in elected, appointed positions, and I appreciate that you are stepping forward and volunteering more of your time.
Selectman Tropiano?
I don't have much to say. My wife's from Easton, and it's a great community, and so it has been a great community, and if you had anything to do with it, it's okay with me.
Selectman Holmes?
No, I don't really have any questions. I just wish you luck in putting all this experience to good use here. You did get all your voter stuff,
Yes.
registration changed over, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Great.
Selectman Slavin?
I'm fine.
Yes, likewise. Could we have a motion, please?
Make a motion to appoint Jeffrey L. Tufts, 1 Red Oak Terrace, West Wareham, to the Master Plan Committee as a citizen at large for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2015.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin and seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Tufts, for stepping up. This can, as you stated during your remarks, be a very useful committee for the town. And rather than just, as you say, a bond rating, placeholding sort of thing, it's good guidance for the Board of Selectmen, the town administration, and the town meeting as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your support.
Next up, we have an update for the Veterans Day Parade. Sharon, Bob coming up too? Yes. Okay. Mr. White from the background.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So tell us where we are, please.
Okay, at this time, there's a few things I would like to go over. One is, we're still looking for a lot of volunteers for the event, and I would like to have them please call me, 508-277-7845. We're having a meeting tomorrow evening for the people who have decided that they are going to participate in the parade. We're asking them to please stop by at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening here at the, Thursday, at the meeting here at 6 o'clock, and to bring their 50 words or less for their participation. That's what's going to be narrated at the parade. The meeting for everyone who's volunteering, we're asking them to meet with us on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock. So we're hoping to get new faces. We're asking for that hour, just that 1 hour to help out. The day of the parade on November 11th, we're asking that you meet at 10 o'clock if you are participating in the parade for a check-in, and that the parade will kick off at 10:30. About tomorrow? Tomorrow at Good Morning, Wareham, we're actually having the Grand Marshal from last year present the sash to the new Grand Marshal this year. That's at 8 o'clock tomorrow. And that's about it for the updates.
Bob, anything?
Excuse me, other than saying that this is a community event, and at some point in the near end of the parade, in the community division, we expect to invite anyone who wants to march in the parade from the sidelines can join the parade and end up at the ceremony point, which will be between the multi-service center and town hall. We don't want to give away all of the participants in the parade because we got to have a few surprises. We do have significant presence anticipated from the Bourne Selectmen. So we're moving slowly in the direction of trying to make this a multi-community activity. So if you reach out to your counterparts as well and encourage them to bring along a friend or bring somebody along, that would be greatly appreciated.
Making a note right now to that effect.
I have reached out to the chairman and to the vice chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, through you. Bob, didn't we had a couple of selectmen here from, was it Bourne or Buzzards Bay or
Bourne.
last year?
Born last year.
It was
yes.
Bourne, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, John
Expect
Ford.
Linda to
There
come
were
back
3?
again this year.
There was one
And Jack
or
Ford.
2 on the stage, and there
John
were
Ford.
some in the audience as well.
I think there were 3
Yeah.
here last year, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Selectman Slavin?
How far around do you want to go? Do you want us to reach out and make an invitation to Rochester, Carver, Marion?
It would be nice to invite Marion, since our Grand Marshal happens to be from the VFW in
All
Marion.
right. I'll invite John Henry, I think he's chair of the Selectmen. I'll see him tomorrow night.
Great, thank you.
We have reached out to Marion in the past, however, they have a small, or they have a event of their own, and we've not had much success.
Let me see what I can do.
Thank you, that'd be appreciated. We'll be back to keep you updated.
Great. And thank you for all your hard work on this. I know it's time-consuming and a lot of detail. Thank you. Okay. Next item?
Next item, we have a one-day liquor license request from the Onset Bay Association. Good evening, Eleanor, Rudy, Sharon.
Hi, Eleanor Martin, Onset Bay Association.
I think I'm Rudy Santos from Wareham.
And I'm Sharon Boyer.
Thanks. So why don't you tell us what this event is all about?
Okay, what it is we want to put on a one-day wine tasting at Eastern Bank, and it would be on November 6th, from 5:30 to 7:30. And I can just read my letter that pretty much explains it. With regards to the one-day liquor permit for the wine tasting at Eastern Bank on November 6th, Eleanor Martin, President of the Onset Bay Association, and Rudy Santos, President of the Summer of Celebration 2014, will be the main contacts for this event. We'll be responsible for the sale of tickets to the event. This is a wine tasting. There will be no sale of individual alcohol beverages to attendees. The cost of the alcohol is included in the purchase of the ticket. Only ticket holders who have a valid identification noting that they are at least 21 years of age will be allowed into the event. The event is scheduled to take place at Eastern Bank on Main Street, Wareham, on November 6th from 5:30 to 7:30. And attached with this, we have hired a professional wine tasting company off the Vine, and I have attached with it their insurance certificate that they got indemnifying the Eastern Bank. So, do you have any questions?
Questions from the board?
Just one. Eleanor, do you know if we have a TIPS or a serve-safe certificate from them?
From?
The people actually doing the serving the wine.
I
I didn't see it here. Maybe I missed it. No. I have the tax, everything else, and the exemption, but I don't have that. If that's-
don't know if, because we've used them before, and we've never had to submit that.
It's usually.
They are-
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Every event liquor license must.
Well, I'm sure they have it, because they are a professional
You must have the
event.
certificate on file with,
Yeah.
oh, she's out of town, so right, Shirley.
Shirley's back.
Any of them, in the office
Okay.
before the license leaves that office.
Okay.
We can vote on it, but just have to get that to us.
All right, I'll get it tomorrow.
They can fax
But-
it over too.
Yeah, sure.
Right, the motion can be made conditional upon provision of the tips.
Right, but on the application, Mr. Chairman, the application doesn't mention anything about off the vine, is it?
It's on the indemnity insurance,
On the indemnity insurance.
right up here, Sue.
They are a bartending company.
I'm not
that-
interested. I understand
Oh,
who they
okay.
are. What I'm concerned about is you.
Okay.
My concern is for you. Because this, where do you see that,
It's on the
Mrs.
top.
Whiteside?
Right here, right
On the insurance,
Insurance.
the liability insurance?
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about the application.
Oh, no.
I don't see where they're listed anywhere on the application. And typically, when we see an application with an outside group, their name is on that application. And I just don't see it. Maybe it's not required, but. Because this makes you responsible. See it? There's nothing in here that specifies them or even mentions them at all. Usually you see that, Eleanor, on
Yeah.
these applications. You know, like the ones we do for Tohonet or the other
Right.
place there, you always see Tohonet Village, and then you'll see, Falmouth Bartenders Unlimited or whatever.
Right. We
I-
had done this, well, I can just add them in if you want, but we had done this before with this
Yeah,
same
no.
company, and it was all just the Onset Bay Association. It wasn't listing them.
Right. 9 out of 10 times nothing happens.
Okay.
It's that 10th time that you want to make sure this is right.
Okay.
Right.
So you want me to list them on the
But
application?
I would do that. There's no objection, and make sure they have the tips before it leaves the office. I'm sure they have a certificate, but it should be on file.
Yeah, there should be something on file, I would assume.
I'll make a motion to grant a one-day special license. Onset Bay Association, under provisions of Chapter 138, Section 14. The address of P.O. Box 799, Onset, Mass., for the date of November 6, 2013. The hours are 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The location will be at Eastern Bank, Main Street, Wareham, beer and wine.
Second?
It's subject to the,
Subject to the tips and also the amendment to the liquor liability indemnity.
Okay, motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. Or Selectman Tropiano. You giving it to him this time? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed,
Aye.
abstained, 5-0-0.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And we have tickets available.
Hint, hint,
There you
huh?
go.
I didn't hear what she said. Huh? Well, you don't have a license yet. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
have about 2 minutes of your time?
Certainly.
Okay?
For you?
Come-
It's your time.
Okay. Excuse me for my voice, I just came through a major operation, but you'll hear me out. What we're doing, as you well know, is we're trying to make Wareham proud. We're doing it because we care about this town. We love it. There's only about 10 or 12 of us that are raising money, doing everything that we can possibly do to repeat what happened 25 years ago with some changes. My question to you, gentlemen, and I want to raise the bet, by the way, okay? We'll talk about that later. Is I know that you're supporting this idea. But my question to all of you is, in no disrespect, is that we've had quite a few fundraisers, and we haven't seen the selectmen there to give us some support. You have. And I'm not trying to be facetious in my saying that. But if one or two of you could come and show that you're behind us or accepting what we're doing, simple as that, that would be wonderful. If you possibly can. I know you're very busy, but somehow if you could just show up and give us a little more support. I know you support it. You all do. But we just need a little more verbal, a little presence, that's all. But you're going to be proud of all of us, and this is what we're doing. Trust me.
We already
We
are.
got good people working here. Thank God for Eleanor on this wine tasting. And I want to thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you, Rudy. Best of health, Rudy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Whitehead.
We're going to hold off on item B on the town business. I had a request from Ms. Aruta's attorney for a specific time, and I set that for 8 o'clock. So I just want to make sure they're here. How long is it anticipated that the Clear Channel presentation will take? If you could just...
The attorneys are here.
Okay, I just don't want to cut you short, but I told these other folks that we'd have them on for 8, so, Mr. Yeah, she did. I heard her. So, why don't we go ahead and take that one up? Mr. Sullivan, if you could let them know to come in, and then we'll get right to Clear Channel after that.
No, ours isn't here. Theirs are. No, their lawyers.
For them, but where's our counsel?
I don't know that we're going to have Attorney Bowen tonight.
Well, I know how I feel about it anyway, so.
We have no counsel here tonight.
I know what's his name's here. I know he's counsel for somebody. Somebody want to give him a call? He's probably beat tired.
Go ahead. Well, in the meantime, let's go finish up the sewer business, even though we have funding source for contract 2. We're waiting on DOR, so there's no action there. And anybody have any other sewer business? No. No action there, takes care of that.
How about guidance for the town administrator? Can we do that?
Mrs. Whiteside?
Okay, I've just found out that Attorney Bowen is not going to be here. I could certainly proceed on the basis that he has analogized this to a prior situation with an affordable housing restriction that the board dealt with before. And that was 2 Beach Street, where the board's authority to do anything was limited very specifically. So, what's the board's pleasure?
Well, I mean, we can hear it. We can hear what they have to say. I'm just not so sure that we should make a decision.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you.
If they're looking for a decision, I mean...
I don't believe there's a decision to be made by this body, which is the point here.
Which is also what I think, but I'd like to have some input from council on this particular issue, seeming that it's pretty important. It's a pretty important issue. It also sets some precedents. So it's important.
No, it's a fair point. Well, why don't we bring these people in here? We can intake what they have to say, and then...
Okay. All right, let's do it.
That's who should be here. Witten should be here for this. He wrote us this letter for today.
Yep.
I think he's the one that should be here.
While we're waiting. Oh, never mind, there you go. Okay.
Yep.
Come
Good
on.
evening.
Right, sit in the,
Why don't you and your client come on up?
right up.
Just to refresh everybody's recollection, and I don't know that Selectman Holmes was here the last time Ms. Aruda was here. Previously, she appeared before the board a couple of weeks ago with her realtor. The issue here is she would like for the board to sign off on documents that would remove the affordable housing restriction currently in place upon her, was it a townhouse unit at 29 Carlton Road. We expressed, as a board, we expressed a lot of reservation about this. There's been some back and forth between Ms. Aruda's realtor, town council, two of them, both our regular town council and also special town council who advises the Zoning Board of Appeals. In the meantime, Ms. Aruda obviously has found herself an attorney to represent us who has no prior affiliation with the town, thankfully. And we're here tonight to hear what you have to say. Our council has been stuck up in Boston at a lengthy MCAD hearing. We're not going to have the benefit of his commentary tonight, but we're here to hear what you have to say, specifically now that you've lawyered up, so to speak. And so, if you would proceed with what you'd like to tell us.
Good evening. My name is
You have to talk right into that mic, I'm sorry, but it's
Thank you.
very
Good-
small.
Thanks. Good evening. I am Stephen Trifletti. I am attorney for Courtney Aruder. I'm also joined by Amy Needing, who is the realtor who's been involved in this transaction. Up until the past couple of days, Courtney Aruda has been handling this matter on her own with the benefit of the realtor. And primarily that is because she can't afford a lawyer. However, she's found herself dealing with not only your town council, but your special counsel. And she's found herself in a situation where there are a myriad of legal documents that she's trying to work her way through it. And she has been getting advice, certainly from, among others, the Citizens Housing and Planning Association, Inc., and which has been in an agreement with the town of Wareham, and with whom she has relied on certain representations that have been made to her throughout the course of her dealings on this matter. She first started this back in May of 2012, and she acknowledges that the housing that she has is affordable housing. She also recognizes that in order to proceed, there were certain steps and procedures that she was to follow. And she got the advice of, again, the Citizens Housing and Planning Association, Inc. She has looked at the various governing documents, and in her position is that she has always carefully, faithfully, and in good faith followed all of the procedures that were outlined. She also finds herself in a situation not unlike many other residents and taxpayers in your community, and one of the reasons why we appreciate this hearing this evening is because she is a taxpayer in the town of Wareham. She is a resident, and we would hope that you, as a Board of Selectmen, would be concerned about all of your taxpayers and residents, and also seek to be consumer-friendly to them as they try to handle themselves within the town. And in this case, she says, I've done what I was supposed to do. I don't want to file and be involved in a foreclosure. I don't want to file for bankruptcy. But if I don't sell this property, that's what's going to happen. And so she's been working patiently and diligently. She tried to find low and moderate purchasers. She was unable to do so. She did the various things that she was supposed to do, only to find out that there seemed to be some conflict between the town and the Citizens Housing and Planning Association. And she would say to you that that may be an issue to which she doesn't have legal privity, but she shouldn't be the one who's penalized. She shouldn't be the one who suffers to her legal detriment and her financial detriment because the town is in some conflict with an agency with which it has been in contract. She currently has a purchase and sale agreement that's on an extension, and it's scheduled to close this week. And without the sign-off from the town, she will not only lose this buyer, but she will probably lose the property. We talked about any number of other possible alternatives to this, and it was only recently suggested to me last night in a conversation with Attorney Whitten that she could go to the ZBA and request that the comprehensive permit be amended. The problem with that is that takes time, that takes financial resources, that takes legal expertise, all of which she doesn't have. I mean, and how can we expect a lay resident and taxpayer to understand all of the legal governing documents when, in fact, the town of Wareham and Citizens Housing and Planning Association disagree? And as stated in the October 21 correspondence of 2013 from Attorney Whitten, he says CHAPA is operated by affordable housing experts and advised by sophisticated legal counsel. It cannot plead either indifference or ignorance. And I just mention that only because we have two entities with their own legal counsel advising them in a different way, and yet now we bring a resident and taxpayer who is approaching this from a lay point of view, and she's saying, I did what the town agreed to do in the beginning. I did what I've been advised by Citizens Housing and Planning Association. Why now am I in this position? And she comes to you really this evening to say, what can be done from a lay point of view so that this all makes sense to resolve it? I have with me a stack of documents that were provided to me that relate to this transaction. And without going through this, it's clear to me, even as a lawyer, that you need to minimally be a real estate attorney, if not an attorney specifically versed in affordable housing. And so we have a situation here where it's highly technical and complicated, and she's saying, I, throughout this, did what I was supposed to do. I don't want to be in a position where I can't properly transfer this property in an orderly manner. She saw the language in the letter where the town, through its attorney, threatened to take a 93A action against responsible parties if the affordability requirement of the comprehensive permit would be violated. And she's saying, wait a minute, why do I want to get involved in the middle of this? It's, you know, if there are violations of the Massachusetts Consumer Protection Statute, and if the town is threatening the Citizens Housing and Planning Association, Inc., or any related entities for violating the Massachusetts Consumer Protection Statute, leave me out of it. I just am a simple property owner, and I just want to sell my property. And I've got a buyer. I've got someone who's willing to pay a reasonable price for this. Just let me sell it. Just let me go forward with my closing. You can send me repeated letters from the various lawyers that represent the town. I talked to town council. Town council said to me, when I talked to them last week, well, wait and talk to special counsel. I talked to him. I haven't talked to town council again. I could go back and forth. I could run up a huge bill for my client. She can't afford it. She can't afford for me to keep going back. I mean, if we have to and we had to litigate it, she may be left with no alternative, but that's not really the right way to go with this. The right way to go is to be thinking about what we can do for the residents and taxpayers in Wareham so that we somehow still maintain the integrity of affordable housing, but at the same time balance the realities of the recession in which we've recently been involved in, the bad economy. She said, I haven't been able to find purchasers. I haven't been able to find people that qualify. I've gone through the process. And I would suggest to the board that just as the federal government has been taking steps to remedy improper practices and what they call unsafe procedures by banks in dealing with housing and dealing with people such as my client, so too it seems to me that the other governmental agencies, such as towns and municipalities, such as the Citizens Housing and Planning Association, need to respond to the realities of the economy and the recession that which we've just undergone. It's ideal to say that you're going to follow and you're going to sell this and have it restricted to low and moderate purchasers in perpetuity if they're available, if they're out there. They just don't exist. She's tried, and hers isn't the only unit. There are other units as well, and I understand there are other units that are upside down. And what the federal government's been doing as it relates to banks is they're stepping in and they're saying, wait a minute, we can't let this happen. We've got to make some changes. As recently as late last week, there was a large federal decision involving J.P. Morgan Chase and other banks saying, and the government stepping in saying, we've got to remedy some of these practices. We've got to do what's appropriate. And I think what we're doing this evening is coming to you and saying, what can the town do? We certainly want to join the town in preserving affordable housing, but we've got to look at what's reasonable in this case. And she's saying what's reasonable is, I started in May of 2012. It's now well over a year and a half, and I've come to this point where I'm able to sell it for a reasonable purchase price. I've done all the things that were recommended to me as I understood it through the governing documents, as I understood it through the advice I was getting from the Citizens Housing and Planning Association, Inc. And at this point, she's requesting that the town go ahead and sign off on this and give her the relief that she needs to do so she doesn't lose it to a foreclosure or to a bankruptcy filing.
Okay, well, thank you, and that was artfully presented. Questions from the board? Selectman Tropiano, I think, wanted to speak to this.
I actually don't have a question. I know you said that the town should take care of its citizens and so on, and part of 40B is taking care of the citizens. That's the whole purpose of 40B, is to take care of the citizens. The whole idea of 40B is so that the children of the people who grew up here and had children here, their children can still live in the town. Because a lot of times, as you well know, that's the case. They can't, because they can't afford what their parents had. And so we have these housing units that they can live in and have whatever. Also, the market has fallen off considerably. Now, she paid $168,000 for the unit as an affordable housing unit. It's not worth $168,000 as an affordable housing unit anymore. It might be worth $145,000. I don't know. I'm not a realtor. But I know that the realtor herself told me last week that there was a unit on the street, in fact, that did sell for market value or for affordability at some point. And not only that, but it didn't lose its housing restriction. So overall, the whole point of this is to take care of the citizens of the town, and that is to protect our affordable housing stock. You see what I'm saying? So she's asking for relief from our affordable bylaw, although she bought the property knowing it was an affordable unit. You see what I mean? She bought it knowing it was affordable, and she bought it because it was affordable at the time. I feel very hard that the market crashed. It happened to me. I lost $500,000 on a house. Okay, as a result of the market. I sold my house, and it was $500,000 less than it was worth. And that's because the market value fell so greatly on the properties. And so I know what it's like, and I know that it hurts, and I know that there's problems. And I'd love to say to her, yeah, okay, we'll help you out, and we'll sign this thing, and that make the market not affordable. But if we do that, why is it that all the affordable people don't put their house on the market? I don't know whether you don't have to advertise it. You don't have to do anything. You just put it on the market and say, okay, I'm putting this house on the market. And when it gets down the road a few months, you come in and say, guess what? I couldn't sell it. I tried. This is what I did to sell it. Here's the realtor that I put it with. It didn't sell. and therefore I want you to release the affordable housing restriction so that I can sell it. The problem with this, of course, is that we wouldn't have any affordable units left. Everybody would do this. Everyone.
If you
And-
want a response.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Of course, that's why I'm saying it. Of course I want you to respond.
I guess first thing I'd say is, well, there was a crash, so.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And this is not happening with all the units, but in this case, there's a regulatory agreement that also is involved in this, along with the comprehensive permit, and there's language contained in this agreement as far as the procedure to follow in order to go ahead and sell the property. And she has followed that. She says if there's a right of first refusal to the town, if the town wants to purchase it, she'd be happy to sell it to the town. But the reality is, we did have a crash, and you're not losing all your affordable units, and we have a resident taxpayer that since May of 2012 has diligently, with professional assistance, has attempted to sell this property. And she finds herself in a situation where the only purchaser that was available that would make an offer to buy this property was for a price that is reasonable, and she's prepared to go forward. She's under a purchase and sale agreement. They've extended it, and at this point, she's suggesting that the proper way to do this at this point would be to go ahead and let her sell the property.
One issue that we're confronted with here, and this comes from a past matter that this board had to deal with, the town had to deal with, regarding a property with an affordable housing restriction. In order to dismiss, you might say, the town's interest, because that's actually what we have here, is a town interest in this property. There's, obviously a fancy mechanism to get that done under 40B. You've got a comprehensive permit that the ZBA issues that contains the restriction. In this instance, we're advised by our special counsel that that's in perpetuity. Notwithstanding that, we're not authorized under law, this is from counsel, not just in this action, but also in a prior case, we were not authorized to do anything with that restriction, to remove that restriction. That was either a matter for town meeting, and that particular restriction on this other property I'm referring to was not able to be dealt with by this board until there was actual litigation.
And again, I'm not intimately familiar with that other case, but
the facts are a little bit different, I will tell you that.
The facts are different, and that, I mean, in summary, I understand the lady just up and left and went to Florida and sold the property and didn't pay attention to all of the rules and regulations and the procedures to be followed, unlike my client. And I guess what I'm really trying to say to the Board of Selectmen is, I'm a lawyer, I argue cases every day. I can take a set of facts, try to apply the law, and artfully, as you said earlier, appear before a board, appear before a judge, and make a case, as your lawyer can do for you. So setting all of that aside, wearing a different hat, again, just sitting in your shoes, I'm the longest serving town official in Plymouth. I'm the town moderator, and her father is sitting in this room, and he's a sitting selectman in another municipality. So we have experience doing what you're doing. And one of the things I know that I always do is I think about the residents and taxpayers of my town, and I want them to feel as though they're included. I want to feel as though they're not disenfranchised, that they're treated fairly, that they have procedural due process, and that we're consumer friendly. And really, that's all Courtney Arruda is looking for. She's looking for the town of Wareham and this board to treat her in that way. And she's saying, you can throw at me as many lawyers and as many legal opinions as you may want to do. And I understand the need for affordable housing, and I understand that when I bought it, it was under affordable housing, but I have been trying for 1.5 years to sell it. I finally found a buyer. The price is a reasonable price. Just let me sell this property so that I don't have to have another foreclosed unit on the market. You've already had several other units within this project that have been foreclosed. That's not good for the town. It's not good for anybody. I understand from talking to the Realtor that she was involved in those transactions with the bank. Rockland Trust, that's not in anybody's interest. She doesn't want to have to file bankruptcy. She's working hard in her field, and she just cannot continue to go forward without suffering severe economic hardship. And so we're looking for this Board of Selectmen to try to look outside the box beyond all of the going back and forth between the Citizens Housing and Planning Association and the town. She doesn't really care about that. I mean, I know she has to care to the extent that it seems to be indirectly affecting her in a negative way, but she's saying, you know, work that out with other situations and don't use me as the guinea pig.
Well, to your point, and then I know some of the other members wish to comment, the reason we're still here, the reason we even are keeping this on the agenda is to try to afford Ms. Arruda that due process, that opportunity to come before us and to plead her case. But again, the issue I have for us to proceed with this is I don't believe we have the authority on our own to do this. And when we act outside of our authority, we end up over in Plymouth Superior Court with a 10 taxpayer suit, or perhaps even a single person under 249 Section 4 complaining about something. It's difficult for us to expand our jurisdiction into areas where we're pretty clear we shouldn't go. But with having said that,
but could I just respond to that?
Yes.
Because although you're making that statement, we have the Citizens Housing and Planning Association, Inc., which your counsel says is operated by affordable housing experts and advised by sophisticated legal counsel. They're saying you can do this. So if we have attorneys and housing experts saying you can do this, and I understand that you're getting some other advice from counsel, we would ask that you follow the lead from Citizens Housing and Planning Association, with whom you have a contract, with whom you have engaged because of their expertise. Go ahead and follow their advice, which is that this can be done. So we would disagree as to whether you have the authority to do it.
okay. Questions from the board? Selectman Holmes?
Yeah, I've, is that what the politically correct terminology is called? Artful? I hadn't heard that one. That's new to me. Sir, I can only tell you I've been here 4 years now, I think, and the job here is to care and concern for every citizen. Taxpayers are not, sir.
I would agree.
And I take that pretty seriously. So for you to come in here and make that a basis for your argument, I'm not buying that story, okay? Just so you know. Here's what I'm concerned about, young lady, is that the way I looked at this, in Patrick, what did you say the number was, 173? What is the purchase and sales agreement for on this property?
174, I believe.
174? Because isn't the new affordable rate is around 172 or something, isn't that correct? It's 172.5 or something like that.
Yeah,
the new-
175.
Yeah, something, there's
What
a
did
new
you
rate.
purchase the house for, ma'am, if you don't?
The maximum, if I
What
may.
did you purchase the house for?
168.
168, right? And you're trying to sell it for 174?
That number was issued to me by your monitoring.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, please use the mic.
That number was given to me by CHAPA, your monitoring agent. They establish the resale price.
Right. No, that's what I'm trying to understand if you're below that price or over that price. That's what I'm trying to. Are you over it or below it?
No, I'm below it. I'm selling it for less than
They said she.
the price that CHAPA said I could.
And you've informed the buyer that they they must continue to maintain a deed restriction on that property as affordable, correct?
I have not, because I was given a release letter from CHAPA, your monitoring agent, that said that I could sell it to anybody that I wanted to. For fair market value, after the 90 days had expired when you had right of first refusal. I had no correspondence from anybody here, the ZBA, anybody, to say, hey, wait a minute, we would like to keep this affordable, let's do something.
Well, yeah.
Through no fault of my own, you had correspondence from CHAPA.
I'm not too familiar with that group. I just know what I know from sitting here in the
Okay, well,
various cases
you've
I've heard.
hired them. You've hired them as your
What-
monitoring agent, and
I'm
I have
talking
something
about-
from
okay.
2005.
If you're
So
gonna
if-
get upset, I'm trying to ask you some simple questions.
Go ahead.
I'm not getting upset. I'm just asking for my own knowledge. The town hires many people. Okay, I don't know them all. I don't work with them all. It's not my job. And I was just trying to figure out that so you're saying that the new buyer is not gonna put a deed restriction on that property as
She does
affordable?
not qualify as far as we know. We asked the question several times. When we listed the property, after Courtney presented me with all the documents
Right.
saying that CHAPA said she was free to sell to market rate, there was a disclosure in the listing that said that this was an affordable unit.
Right.
And to be sold to a fair market buyer, the deed rider exemption would have to be approved by the town prior to conveyance.
Right.
So it was disclosed that this process had to take place. She was asked specifically, because CHAPA asked me to ask her if she would qualify and consider buying it with a deed rider. I'm told she would not qualify, and additionally, she was not interested in purchasing it under those guidelines for a variety of reasons.
Good. So you found the buyer, just not the right kind of fit. To fit the mold.
Nor have we been able to.
Right.
We did not discourage anybody that may have come in under that affordable.
Right.
We had inquiries from people, they didn't step forward.
Yeah, because the question you asked initially was, how do I get this done by Friday? That's what you asked.
Right.
Other questions?
I think if you had a buyer that was willing to do that, I think the whole thing goes away. It's not an issue. Right?
Yes.
True. Again, we're without counsel tonight. I would respectfully submit to you, Counselor, that CHAPA's representations that we can go ahead and do this, as you can see, there's some tension between the town and CHAPA.
That would be my
And
yes.
I would respectfully suggest that they would like as speedy a resolution to this matter as possible. I don't think that this matter, as difficult as it has been for Ms. Aruda, continuing through tonight, I don't think it has really put them in as the kind of light they like to be seen in. I actually was up on Beacon Hill today listening to 2 hours and giving my own testimony in support of a 40B bill. And this was 40B day before the Joint Committee on Housing. And there was a CHAPA representative there who wanted basically to beat back every single proposal that would water down or alter or change 40B to the extent that they would, in essence, be doing less business, even though we know they're a nonprofit, but still, they have staff, they have people they have to pay, they have attorneys. They're still in operation, notwithstanding that they don't show a profit and loss at the end of the year. And I feel badly that Ms. Aruda has been caught in this vice, because that's exactly what it is. That having been said, we don't have counsel available here tonight. Have you had the opportunity, Attorney Trifletti, I'm sorry, I was going to say Perflitti, but Trifletti, yeah.
Yes.
Have you had the opportunity to speak with Attorney Bowen at all on this matter?
When I spoke to Attorney Bowen late last week, he indicated that he would like me to speak to Attorney Whitten, and I spoke to him late last night. And Attorney Bowen and I did discuss the possibility of talking after that, but I have not spoken to him since then, since I did not receive Attorney Whitten's letter to Citizens Housing and Planning Association until this morning. I believe it was drafted yesterday and sent late last night. So, given the timing, and quite frankly, if the Board of Selectmen does not go forward and approve this, we really have no direction as to where to go. She's been doing this since May of 2012. She doesn't have, I mean, as your counsel, Attorney Whitten did acknowledge with me, so the ironies of this is that the very people that this was intended to help, those without financial means, those with hardship who needed affordable housing, are now, as you would say, caught in this vice where they don't have the financial wherewithal to have the type of representation and support to be able to do what you're able to do. You're able to litigate. You have several lawyers. You can be involved in litigation as you were in the past with South Shore Housing and that previous sale, and you might get a judgment that's favorable, but she's not in that position to be weighing in as a third party to any conflict between you and Citizens Housing and Planning Association. She correctly and properly followed the process that was set forth by them and in turn by you, given the agreements you have with them. And now she's finding herself to be having a legal detriment and financial loss due to that. There were oral discussion with your counsel about going to the Affordable Housing Trust, and maybe they would buy it, maybe the town would buy it. And that's a process that, as my experience has been, you have to then, even if that were to happen, it would then have to go to town meeting.
You would.
Which would be.
I'm the selectman
Right,
member of the
I understand that
Affordable
you
Housing
are.
Trust. So.
And so that would be maybe this coming spring at the earliest. There was discussion about going before the ZBA and changing the comprehensive permit, which is going to require notice to the butters and some additional time. She doesn't have this time. She's been diligently trying to work through the process. She's been here before. She's been dealing with all the parties, and at this point, she's at the end of her extensions with this purchaser, and she needs to have relief to be able to go forward and sell the property.
Well, again, we've been told by our counsel, whom we have to pay some attention to, that we don't have authority on our own in the absence of litigation, and this is the second time I've referenced that point, to do anything about this. I will tell you that the one time that this board did remove an affordable housing restriction, it was via an agreement for judgment to settle a lawsuit. That, to my thinking, as an attorney myself, and also to the people we pay, because they're not paying me to think about this stuff, was the only means by which the Board of Selectmen could dispose of that kind of a town-owned real interest in an affordable property. You know, that's, I really can't say any more to you than that. I don't think it would help at this point in time. Just looking at what I'm seeing and hearing from the members here, I don't know that voting on a motion at this time would be in your interest. I would suggest contacting Attorney Bowen tomorrow.
Mr. Chairman, you can't vote on something if you don't have the authority to
Well,
do
exactly. Well, we could vote to decline, but
you can bring a client in front of the Board of Selectmen and tell that client, oh, they can do this for you, when maybe they know they can't. I mean, that's, and
well,
then come in and say,
again, I think if there were
care and concern for your city, hang on a second, please, because this is kind of, this isn't right, for one thing.
Well, but people can come here. They can come ask us. Nothing stops them from asking. It's
here on a Tuesday,
the doing.
This young lady needs a decision by Friday. So, like, coming in here tonight is going to change her situation. Yes or no? No. Right? if we don't have the authority to help her, then what are we supposed to do? Tell us.
If I might respond, I think part of what we're dealing with here is whether you do have the authority, and we're saying you do have the legal authority to act, and
You're saying that.
Exactly, I just said that. I said, we're saying that. We are. And if you're not gonna act favorably on her request this evening, and you do want to talk to Attorney Bowen, then I might request that there be some type of ability to delegate this task to both Attorney Bowen and Attorney Whitten. I'm happy to sit down at a meeting with them and with counsel for Citizens Housing and Planning Association, since they also have legal counsel, and they're saying it can be done. I think Attorney Whitten is saying, no, not necessarily. I don't think Attorney Bowen is necessarily weighing in, but probably instead he's relying on the expertise of your special counsel. And having said that, possibly the lawyers involved can craft some type of way to resolve this, since there clearly is some difference of opinion among the lawyers who've been looking at this.
Well, I wouldn't discourage any attorney representing any client from making any outreach that he or she thought would be helpful to their client. And I'll just leave that at that. But as far as the authority of this board to do it, again, we have to respect what we're told by the professionals we hire. We understand that in legal matters, you ask two lawyers something, you might get two different answers. We get that. And as an attorney myself, this is what I deal with all day long, just as you do. But as Selectman Holmes says, if we don't have the authority, then there's really nothing for us to act upon.
Yeah, my point of the whole thing is don't lead this young lady down another wrong road by having this, whatever this is, knowing that before she left her house tonight, there was nobody here that could help her. And you made her come here. I know I said it once, I'll say it twice, Alan, I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm repeating myself.
Yeah. And what would be the right road? I mean, I guess that would be another question I would ask.
Well, I think
Right.
you need to talk to the attorneys involved. I think you especially need to talk to
That's
CHAPA.
what you told me last time I was here, and I have done everything that I was supposed to do once again.
Right, but this is the first time you've actually had a professional to assist you.
I shouldn't have to have a professional to do this for me.
We're not in a position, if this board were to go ahead tonight and vote to do this, I can guarantee you there would be a 10 taxpayer suit, and it would get tossed. You would lose in the end, and it would cost you even more money to try to side with a board of selectmen that acted inappropriately. It wouldn't help you in the long run for us to do this. This is the advice that we get from the people we pay to give us advice, to give us.
I follow the advice of the people that you hire to give you advice, being CHAPA.
Well,
And again, I'm really not clear. I would like someone to please explain to me why I am paying the price for your dispute with CHAPA. You don't like them as your monitoring agent. I have papers dated here from 2005, so you've obviously been in contract with them since 2005. It's 2013 now. If you've been unhappy with their practices, you could have dissolved that relationship and found another monitoring agent. In the meantime, you've done nothing. I've followed every letter of the papers that they sent me. According to, you've hired them. I did what I was asked. Now I'm asking you to do the same. I have the contract in front of me. I shouldn't be bound by something if you're not either. You can't up and change things now because, it doesn't sound good or you're losing an affordable unit. It's gonna be foreclosed on, you'll have no one in it, and the deed rider will go away anyway.
well, again, unfortunately, we're not in a position tonight to give you what you're asking, and I would ask your attorney to go forward and speak further with our counsel to see if he can work something that's agreeable with them. That's really all I can say at this point.
So I've already talked to your attorney. I don't see that there's any guidance or direction as to what she should do with this property at this point.
That's well beyond our purview. All I can say is if you want to keep trying to get to where your client wants to go, then that has to take place outside of this particular forum.
I guess I would ask, you must have an opinion. I mean, you don't operate in a vacuum in the town of Wareham. I don't know if you have joint meetings with the Affordable Housing Trust, with the ZBA, but, you know, she's being told to go in a lot of different directions. And she's here at the Board of Selectmen. She can go to the Affordable Housing Trust, she can go to the ZBA, she can go to town meeting, but there needs to be some coordination within the town of Wareham as to what does a citizen, a resident, all the residents do in order to, you know, work through the system.
I would suggest to you that out of the several routes you just suggested, there's one that constitutes the shortest distance between 2 points. Selectman Tropiano?
And what is that?
The only thing that I know about 40B after reading 40B and spending some time with it over the years is the only way to get this done properly, in my estimation, is to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals and have them amend the permit. That's the only way you can remove that affordable restriction as far as I'm concerned. I don't see any other way, and frankly, I wouldn't see the board removing it. I mean, I want to say it right up front. I would never vote to remove this affordable restriction on any affordable unit, ever. I'll say it right now, right out. I'll let you know that I just wouldn't do it. And I don't think that board would do it either.
And yet that was one of the suggestions that I was given orally from Attorney Witten. So
yeah, to go in front of the board and ask them. They might.
Yeah.
They,
well, I agree with you.
I can't say how they would vote.
I think that's a fool's errand, and it's really not one that I'd like to recommend to my client. But again, I come back to you as the executive branch leaders in this municipality. What does she do going forward? Because
it's not up
I
to
can
us.
certainly call you a lawyer tomorrow, but that's not going to solve this.
But it's not up to us what you do. Well, we can tell you, I can tell you for me, I wouldn't release affordable housing restriction on a piece of property that somebody signed saying that they would agree to that. And I'm going to tell you something else. They make that a big issue at the closing, that it's an affordable unit. You understand it's an affordable unit. You understand it will remain an affordable housing unit. You understand at the closings. I know because I've been to them. I'm also a realtor. I've been to those closings. I know how they react. And I just wouldn't do it. I couldn't see it happening for me. I wouldn't release it. Because then I open up a kettle of worms and everybody's going to want their affordable restrictions released. And I'm sorry. I'm saying it right out. I'm sorry.
So, Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Trapiano, you're a realtor. You've dealt with these issues before.
Yep.
How did somebody in her situation sell the property?
It's easy. You sell the property for what it's actually worth. You see, if she paid $168 for it, we know there was a market crash.
Right.
I'll bet you somebody out there would pay $150 for it in 2 seconds and get
She has somebody willing to pay
an affordable issue. It depends on how you advertise it and how you handle it.
She has
I
somebody.
advertised it for 16 months.
For how much money?
What CHAPA, your monitoring
Right, so
agent,
you advertised
established
it for
as the
16
price.
months at $177
I'm not-
and it didn't sell,
I'm
so you
not
didn't
at-
lower the price.
Point of
Look,
order.
I don't want to argue.
Point of order.
Yes. Selectman Whiteside?
Point of order. I'm not sure that we're supposed to be engaged in conversation back and forth. I thought that this was...
We're not going to.
No. Thank you, Selectman Tropiano.
We're not going to.
Selectman Slavin, any thoughts?
Again, without having counsel here, I'm very uncomfortable. I made the comment the last time this was here. I thought this should be back with the ZBA. We never got a response. This is a ZBA issue as far as the affordable housing piece, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes, I'm sorry that you're not going to leave here tonight with what you came to seek. Again, I would strongly encourage you to contact.
I don't have to sell a house that nobody's looking for. You can buy it. If you would like to keep it affordable, please have at it, because I can't afford it. And that's what 40B is. The municipality can buy it back. If it's, you guys want to keep it.
That would be a town meeting process as well, unfortunately,
You've had
because
a year. You've had over a year.
this matter was brought to this board's attention in September.
What goes on at town hall isn't my concern. If it falls apart when it gets here, that's got nothing to do with me. I did what I
Right,
was
but what
supposed
you're
to do.
asking us for tonight and essentially what you were here before, is what I would call extraordinary relief that I don't believe, and I don't think anybody in this board believes, that we're authorized to give you. That's the problem. We're not an appeals court that can decide these things. We're circumscribed by law. We're circumscribed by our town charter. We're circumscribed by the fact that we can only, on our own, dispose of interest in properties when there's a lawsuit involved.
And as far as the ZBA, just to respond to Selectman Slavin, there were notifications that went out to the ZBA, and we got no response.
I didn't disagree with that. I'm just saying that's where it needs to go, though.
You said you didn't, or you did disagree?
No, he doesn't disagree, right?
I don't disagree.
Right. But again, if you think about the resident taxpayer before you, you're not disagreeing that we're doing what you said to do, which goes to ZBA. We don't get any response. Again, it all comes back to you embody to us the town of Wareham.
You have to go through the process. The ZBA is basically on the Mass General Law. This is all the way it goes. The Board of Selectmen has certain responsibilities. You have to go through the process. You have to go to the ZBA first before you come to us, I believe.
And again, they're saying they did.
That's where it started.
ZBA has the right to relieve this situation.
They can amend the comprehensive permit and grant relief if they want. That is correct.
I've been asked to not speak, but I do want to interject one thing. Your comment about they're gone over with at the closing, the deed writer you're buying this under an affordable. The deed writer is one of the documents, as well as the regulatory agreement, which spells out CHAPA's monitoring, that spells out the course of action that she took, that she tried to market it for 90 days. The town was made aware of that. They had the opportunity to vote to purchase it to maintain that affordability. That's spelled out in the deed writer that she had at her closing. So therefore, the comprehensive permit indicates that these two documents have to be created before construction can go forward under the ZBA ruling. So if the comprehensive permit doesn't necessarily need to be modified because it already incorporates these documents, but the point is we've asked to go to the ZBA to start out with. We were sent to you because they did not respond.
To that, I would say that I think you've just articulated what would be count 2 of my legal complaint for declaratory judgment. Again, we're not going to be able to do anything for you tonight. I think at this point, this is an exercise in frustration for you folks. We need to move on with our agenda. Again, I would ask you, Counselor, please talk to Attorney Bowen tomorrow.
I will do so.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, before you release here, Rich is in that hearing all day tomorrow in Boston.
Well,
does maybe he could hook up with John Witten? Says he's going to be spending all day trying to get a hold of Rich Bowen, and he's involved in.
Yeah, you can reach out to. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to stop you from reaching out to any lawyers involved in this. CHAPA's, ours, anybody. We understand that's your job. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Next item on the agenda, please.
Presentation by Clear Channel.
Sorry.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Selectmen members. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is John Pellrine. I am the Vice President of Clear Channel Outdoor. I have my assistant, Yano Amira, here as well. You will see a brief 5-minute video explaining how digital billboards work. They're up and operational. Would like to begin with just giving you a couple of pinpoints on how digital billboards were approved at the state level. Back in 2010, the State Outdoor Advertising Board had a pilot program. That pilot program was 8 billboards throughout the Commonwealth. Their number one goal was towards safety. They had mile markers out at the locations 12 months prior to them going up, and then 12 months after they went up. I can tell you some key components is these do not move. There's no animation, there's no scrolling, there's no movement whatsoever. I can also tell you that we're tied in with the state FBI, the state Amber Alert program. So if this was to be approved at the local level, and then it goes to the state level for final approval, the state transportation goes out, looks at the site, examines the site for safety, and it's approved at the state level, not at the local level for safety. I can go into some more details, but I'd like you to watch the 5-minute video, and then I'd be happy to answer more questions and go into some more details on how digital billboards benefit the community.
For the record, could you spell your assistant's name?
Y-A-N-O-A-M-A-R-A.
Thank you.
I'll help in a real quick, but I don't know if you want to just give the genesis of coming in, that we had a brief meeting and going over it, something to fill the
Sure.
time during
Apologize
the
for the
awkward
delay.
silence.
So anyway, I'm really here talking about 3083 Cranberry Highway. If the board was to deem this approved or okay to move forward, we would have legal counsel. Lenny Bello would represent Clear Channel and take us through the process, whether it's a special permit, a variance, a change in the ordinance, whatever local deem necessary to get this local approved.
Just to that point, I would ask our town administrator whether that would be a procurement matter.
This is already a billboard that's owned. It would be an upgrade of it, so bringing the funds to us, it wouldn't be a procurement matter. It would be a boon, if you will.
Thank you.
I'm not long-winded enough, I'm sorry.
No,
Tell
we'll
me
work
where
on you,
this
we'll
is.
teach you.
Can you tell me where, 3083, where is that?
It's an existing 14 by 48 billboard at the Soft Touch Car Wash.
Okay.
I think it's got a South Coast ad on it currently.
As well?
Correct.
It has a South Coast ad.
It changes
Changing.
periodically. It could be Geico, it could be Dunkin' Donuts.
South Coast has run several ads over the last few months on it.
What's the nearest business to it?
It's a car wash.
Okay. The car wash just past Charlie's Pizza?
Charlie's Pizza.
Here we go. So we know where it is.
No, it's just it's a video on the.
It's okay, he's got a new flash.
Just not.
And maybe the whole building will flash then.
How about you explain what it is that
Sure.
your company does?
Sorry about the delay.
That's okay.
So with local support and approval, we go to the state. Again, state transportation, highway safety, they approve the site. We get our state permit, and then we enter into what we call a linkage agreement with communities. We have billboards, digital billboards up in Peabody, Medford, Stoneham, Malden, throughout the Commonwealth, and we offer a linkage payment to the city of a back-to-back would be $40,000 a year annually, and we offer dedicated time, 5 hours per month per face, so 10 hours a month for public service announcements. Some examples I heard earlier tonight, where you mentioned the art show, soccer tryouts, summer celebration, the Girl Scouts, the Veterans Day Parade. So you would send an email to Clear Channel.
It's really nice that somebody listens to me.
And we would put that on the digital, and that's part of the 10 hours a month for public service announcements that you use. And you're going to see that in the video, how
And it's
communities
how
have
many
used
hours?
that. It's 5 hours per face. So if it's a back-to-back, you
Yeah.
get 10 hours a month of public service announcements for the community. We pay for all the artwork
Okay.
completely.
And do the faces always reflect the same message, or can you do?
You can do multiple. You could be having Girl Scouts on one side, Veterans Day Parade
Okay.
on the other side. There's a, we're corporate partners in the summertime, so anything that you could think of that makes sense for the community. You know, welcome to Wareham, gateway to Cape Cod. You're having a parade. We do Student of the Month. We do Athlete of the Month. There's a football game Friday night. You'll see it in the video presentation.
Okay. And you said 5 hours a month?
5 hours a month per face for a total of 10
Per
hours.
face, so that's 10 hours. So you could have, yeah, so you could have actually 10, let me ask it differently.
Sure.
That wasn't a question. Generally speaking, how long are your ads?
Great question.
If it was,
The digital, once again, is, as you'll see, it's no flashing, it's no movement, no animation, and each digital ad is 10 seconds. So it's an ad for 10 seconds, and then it goes into another ad, but it's not moving or motion.
is there any one, there's one in New Bedford on?
Yes, correct, on 95.
Okay. So that's what it would look like?
Yes.
Okay. Is that one of yours?
It is not.
Okay.
We have one down the street, a little further down, and we're also about to, we're negotiating with Fall River as we speak.
Where's the one that you have down the street?
No, I meant
Oh,
in New Bedford.
Okay.
Right.
All right. And when you said you had liaisons with the FBI and Amber Alerts and stuff, does that mean, would those public service announcements be counted against our 10 hours?
Oh, no, not at all. But an example, unfortunately, bad news, it's 8 a.m. in the morning, and there's an Amber Alert. A child was abducted in Brockton. So all our digitals would go blank. It would be the make, model, description of the person they're looking for. We're linked to the, major channel 4, channel 5, channel 7.
Okay.
And then that would go live for 4 hours, and then it would get interrupted until hopefully the child's caught.
Okay. So, but so it comes out of your programming, not?
Correct.
Okay.
Your
not the
10
community
hours, your
service.
10 hours are completely guaranteed.
Okay.
I apologize for the delay.
No, yeah. How do you, stop it, I'm trying to.
So in a nutshell,
So-
may I say, so if we come, most cities and towns have a 25-year agreement. So if we would agree locally for a back-to-back digital, we would give you $40,000 a year for 25 years. It would essentially be $1 million to the town of Wareham.
$40,000 with no economic increase?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
You're already negotiating, Selectman Whiteside?
I'm not negotiating, I'm simply stating a fact. Do you own this billboard right now?
Correct. We own the structure and the permit. It's there. It'll be there for the next 25 years. It's been there for 30 years, so we could stay the way it is, or we could seek local support and approval to convert it to digital. And if we get our state permit, we would erect a new digital and kick in the linkage payment as well as the dedicated time once we go live.
And how do you work with the community? How do the Girl Scouts, how does the library, how does the soccer group, how do we figure out that 10 hours?
Great question. Usually there's one person that represents the town and there's a backup. So you would email my art director the artwork. It takes a matter of, an hour. You can just scribble it on a piece of paper. We'll email it back to you in full color. Somebody from the mayor's office or the town administrator would sign off on it, and within 10 minutes, you're live. And that can change daily. But usually there's only one person that's That's
Right, so it might be the town administrator or his designee. His
Correct.
designee's sitting over there, by the way.
Okay.
Did you see the
I see.
designee? Okay,
Not working? Do you want to try to go live so they can at least watch it? No. Can we
On the
turn this
computer,
around
just
and-
on the screen from here?
Yeah, I'll just put it up
Yeah.
right here.
It looks like the problem's on our end, not your end, so.
No problem.
Don't worry, your competence in this matter
But
is not
think-
diminished.
I think watching the video and seeing how it works with the public service is well worth it.
Yep.
It's less than 5 minutes. And we have some speakers there. Sorry for the delay.
that's okay. I'm doing my best to get the information out.
Sure.
So, the Girl Scouts.
Yes.
Okay. We know they're going to be selling Thin Mint cookies, and we know that we all want some. So they would have to come, all of the people who would want to have public service time would have to come through, just for the sake of discussion, say it would be our town administrator. Do you have guidelines in the towns and cities where you have these signs, billboards already that govern how you make it that choice?
We try to make it strictly public service on nonprofits, meaning, we're in the advertising business, so we're not going to promote like a restaurant downtown, but if it's a nonprofit, there could be a bake-off. We don't really try to get involved so much what the town does with their dedicated time.
Okay,
But-
so it's town dedicated time, so that we would have to make a decision, or we or our designee would have to make a decision as to stop it.
I apologize, but we have
it's
a...
really, it's
We have a laptop here with some speakers. Unfortunately, the audience may not be able to see this, but I think the 5-minute video is well worth just you taking a look at
Okay.
how it works. And Mayor McGlynn, the mayor of Medford, talks about how more importantly, the public service announcements are a huge benefit to the community.
you can tell that they make fun of me quite a lot at this.
That's okay.
It's not. Why are you sticking up for them?
Now you put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Is it ready, Yana?
I have a question here, trying to get us back on track here. I know Selectman Slavin has been diligently working to bring a new and improved sign bylaw before our town meeting next week. I know that last night planning met, there were some final discussions, some final changes at the public hearing, and I believe those changes have been made. But I guess my question is this use currently permitted under the existing sign bylaw? And if not, will it be permitted as of right under the new one? And if not, what would the processes be to get that done?
Special permit under the new bylaw.
Or variance.
It'd be a special permit on the new one. Len, if you want to make any comments, I believe there's some discussion on the board. If this comes forward, even though there's an existing billboard, this would still have to go before the ZBA?
Yes. It would
Okay.
still have to go before the ZBA. ZBA would be able to.
And that would be a variance.
Can you use the mic?
It would be, yeah, it would need to go before the ZBA. Right now, it's a variance under the present zoning bylaw if they wanted to do this. Under the new zoning bylaw, I don't know what the final document is, but it really
Special
doesn't
permit.
make much difference.
It allows a special permit for this
And that would
particular
make
case.
more sense, quite from a legal standpoint, because we know that variance requirements are very rarely met. The special permit makes more sense, and I had hoped that that's what the new bylaw would end up being. But in any event, it couldn't be done as a matter of right. We need to go before zoning. Zoning then has the ability to have public hearings and condition it as they do the smaller electronic message boards. We've just gone through hearings with those. There's 5 or 6 that have been allowed in town through permits issued by previous building inspectors, and now there's a new decision saying those permits shouldn't have been issued, and we have to go back before the zoning board. They're already in existence, but they're coming up with a set of conditions. I represented the first billboard, came up with a plan of conditions that was accepted by the ZBA They made some alterations that they felt appropriate. And my understanding is that those will be the conditions that they'll impose upon the others. This is a little bit different. This is probably going to be something on a much more magnificent basis. You're going to be looking at an unbelievably large billboard, and it's going to be posting messages. The billboard's location for the town is sort of the most central location you could have for a billboard in any town. Everybody passes that.
Yep.
Not only the people in town all pass it, whether they're in the east part, the west part, but people traveling through Wareham are all going to see this billboard. They're not going to miss it. If there's a
You mean you can see it from 195 or whatever the name of that road is?
no, you're going to only see it on Cranberry Highway. But anybody driving through Cranberry Highway, wherever they're heading, are going to see that sign. More so than any other sign I think that exists. Clear Channel has other signs in the town, but they probably are not worth spending $40,000 a year in linkage fees for those type signs that are only going to hit a certain smaller part of the population. Their idea is, these signs are now coming up virtually everywhere. It's the new technology that is in place. It allows so many more businesses to advertise in one sign throughout a 24-hour day. You're not bound by one business. You have
So this
20
is
different
on
businesses.
24 hours?
This is, well, I mean, that depends. That's
That
the
depends on the
conditions of
ZBA permit, special
ZBA,
permit.
the smaller signs that advertise businesses, they decided between 12 and 5 a.m. they should be off.
Yeah.
There are, there's other positions that say no, they should be available 24 hours a day. I think that's a local type decision. I know that Clear Channel has asked to come here first because it's been their experience that before you start going to the ZBAs and trying to do something that relates to a financial interest to the town, they first should come as a matter of etiquette to the Board of Selectmen, to the mayor's office, to whoever is the face of the town and say, is this something that interests you? Is this something that your town might take advantage of? If it's not, they'll go to the next town. They'll try to find the next best location. So, I mean, there's definitely an advantage for everyone here because there's this financial impact that goes back to the towns that allow this.
Sorry, Len. Yeah, put your mouth
Well,
right
thank
up
you
there.
for that presentation.
Can I just ask one more question? Are you ready to go on this?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Then I'll wait.
I'll step back.
We might need the lights dimmed again, if you would, please. Thank you, Gary.
My name is Mike McGlynn, and I'm mayor of the city of Medford, have been for the last 25 years, and we have had a great relationship with Clear Channel and have brought great improvement to the quality of life in our community. When we were approached by Clear Channel to change from some of our static boards to the electronic boards, we were really excited. Not only did it give us an opportunity to add free advertising for nonprofits, it also gave us the opportunity to derive some revenue and help offset a lot of the problems that we faced during this recession.
My name is Lou Musica. I'm Senior Vice President of Domestic Digital for Clear Channel Outdoor. I oversee all the digital billboard installations in the United States. The current model we use is static advertising, so there's no motion, there's no video, and there's no animation. Our messages stay static for 10 seconds and then change to another advertiser instantaneously. If you compare a digital billboard to a similar size sign, the amount of lighting is very similar. Our goal here is to make sure that these signs are never too bright for conditions. In the past, billboards were hand-painted Today, we're simply taking what's similar to a slideshow and placing it up on the side so we can change that copy instantaneously from a remote location.
Law enforcement is a big part of this. So if we have an issue that comes up in the community that we want people to be aware of, within 5 to 10 minutes, the information can be electronically transmitted to that board. You can't get that on a static board.
We're all very familiar with Amber Alerts. We're proud to say there have been a large number of children that have either been found or a tip was generated because of a color photograph on a clear channel billboard.
I'm Charlie Deere from Commonwealth Motors. I've moved outdoor advertising for years and years now, but I've got to tell you, with the emergence of digital, it's just incredible. We can instantaneously change things. The manufacturer sends us a special in the morning. I can have that up in hours. We've got stuff up for the weekend, and the response is tremendous. I love it.
One of the greatest aspects of this is the benefit that all of the nonprofits share in the community. It's educational program, support for the seniors, support for the Little League teams, hockey teams. And if they were not electronic, we couldn't turn them over as quickly as we do to meet everybody's needs for their specific cause.
My name is Susan Zucker. I am the president of the Conquer Cancer Coalition of Massachusetts. I'm so proud to say we have about 5,000 Conquer Cancer plates on the road. When people call, majority of them would say, I saw a billboard on the highway and I knew I wanted to be part of that effort. The colors are amazing and the light is amazing. I'm so excited when I see it because it just jumps right out at you, and we're so grateful to Clear Channel for all they've done.
My name is Ashley Hasiotis. I'm the president of One Mission. Our event, the Kids Cancer Buzz Off, is a really super fun, cool event. We get participants to shave off their hair to help children and their families living with pediatric cancer at the hospital. The first year we had 21 participants, and last year we shaved 450 heads. The gross revenue from that event the first year was $34,000, and last year, 2012, we did just over $600,000.
We have tremendous support from everybody who's used it, from the Jingle Bell Festival here, to the historic community, to the Rotary Club, and so many more. And it's a real positive effect on the quality of life in the community.
This wouldn't happen without Clear Channel and digital billboards. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, very interesting. Selectman Whiteside, do you want to continue with
Okay, can you tell me, I mean, it's mammoth, it's huge. How big, the one that is there now, that you own?
Great
or you
question.
own the rights to?
That's
three great questions.
That's a standard 14 feet high by 48-foot billboard, and if with local support and state approval, it would remain a 14-foot by 48-foot billboard. We're not going to make it an inch bigger. It would be on.
Is that big already?
Yes, it is. I have a picture. If I can just approach the bench.
Yes, absolutely. The bench, no, you're not in court, although sometimes it seems like that.
Well, I don't drive by this on a daily basis. So it wouldn't go any higher?
No. No, it would need a new monopole, so we would take the structure down.
Right.
Build a new monopole to hold the weight of digital, and it would be a 14 by 48. The other side has two 12 by 25s, so it's bigger than the 14 by 48. Technically, it's longer, but we would make it a back-to-back 14 feet by 48 digital billboard, and the height would remain the same.
The height off the ground?
Yes.
You know, what's funny is I go by that thing all the time, and I always see this side of it. I never look at it coming the other way. Yeah, you just don't look at it on the other side.
What's the distance between the two sides, the inside? 2 feet?
Maybe about a foot, 18 inches. You know, there's a metal beam in between, and the two faces are side by side.
Okay, that falls within also the new zoning bylaw, sign bylaw. It's 2 feet.
Selectman Holmes?
Yeah, I've often wondered why it's taken so long. You know, I drove all over the darn places, you know, hours at a time, and I got to tell you, these are the best billboards. You know, as you're driving, especially, you know, you see the lights on them or whatever, but when you see one of these, you pay attention to that as you're driving down the road. I've hit that a few times looking at one, but hey, that's what happens, right?
Thank you.
But no, they are, I think this is great. This will be a big, as long as Mr. Sullivan's okay with it, he's the boss.
Yeah, we had met, and I thought it was a worthwhile endeavor to bring to the Board of Selectmen.
It's great stuff.
Yeah, the monies to be brought in on this, but also, I mean, you can see on there, at some point, besides the Amber Alert, by having the notifications for what's going on in town, you could even see Student Athlete of the Week up there. So it's something interesting for the town to have.
How long does it take to put something like that, like to tear that down and put up the monopole, and how long does that take to do that?
Great question. We would retain Lenny and take us through the local
Did
process.
Lenny tell you to say that every time somebody asks you a question?
No. So if that...
Lenny wrote the script.
So if that entire process with legal notices, let's just say, takes 60 days, we get local support and approval. I will notify you of the state monthly meeting. Somebody can come on behalf of the town. I will say that we've entered into agreement with a linkage payment for 25 years with the town.
Right.
The state traffic engineer will stand up and say that from a safety standpoint, it's been approved. I'll get my state permit, which you'll be notified. I go back the next day and apply for my local building permit. Within 6 weeks, it's up and erected. We go live. We give you a check, and you start utilizing the sign for public service messages.
The backside that Patrick's talking about would be now one?
Correct.
One
So it'd
sign.
be 1 and 1. Right. Yes.
So it'd be interesting, 6 months from now, if you're sitting there saying, I still don't know what's on the backside of that sign, that would be a big problem.
That'd be a big problem for them. That'd be trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No,
Not that I'm that important, but I mean, that means nobody else is looking either.
Great idea.
Selectman Whiteside?
I think it's a great idea. I just am concerned that $40,000 in 2013 sounds like a lot of money. You're talking about what kind of...
I was going to say. Right on the money.
Seriously?
Okay, let's go.
You're talking about what kind of a term?
A 25-year term.
$40,000 in 25 years is not going to be worth anywhere near what it's worth today.
Are you suggesting a COLA?
I'm suggesting at least, yes. I'm also, I guess, do other towns sign 25-year agreements with you?
They do.
Cities and towns?
They do.
At the same price?
I can tell you from our company standpoint, and I don't want to talk about other outdoor
I'm
companies.
asking you.
Is that we made a conscious commitment to give back what we call linkage money to all our communities that we're discussing digital. I can tell you that on a major freeway, it's $12,500 per face, and on a non-freeway, it's $10,000 per face. And the reason why we're doing that is our goal is to have 80 to 100 of these all over the Commonwealth. And with all due respect, I don't want to be in front of your town administrator or the mayor of Peabody or the mayor of Medford and him saying, hey, you know, you went in front of me and it was X, and then you went in front of Peabody and it was X, and then you went in front of, so we decided that that's what we're willing to offer, with all due respect. And, you know, we can negotiate, but that's the offer that's on the table, and it's matches what we're giving other community offers, and I can tell you that on record. So there's no wiggle room, there's no I gave more to one community, so that everybody feels like they've got skin in the game, they've got the same linkage money, and they have the same dedicated time as far as the public service.
And one final question, does this, in that mass study that, you know, the highway study thing, the highway improvement, did this they had a lot of concerns about billboards and things like that.
Yeah, but
you know the thing we're talking about. Yeah.
Where this is located, it's far enough out of the highway itself that it would not be affected by it. In other words, if you look at the actual state land owned, this is well inside it, so they would not have anything to do with it at all. My one comment on this is really simple. Looking at this, we have a billboard there. It's not going anywhere. It's still going to have advertisement. So it's really, I use the word no-brainer, that if we're going to get paid for something, it's going to, help the community with advertisement, be a cleaner, better-looking sign with less chance of having people look the wrong way, whatever else. I can't see anything negative. The board can make their own decision, but I would hopefully that would basically make a decision that we would recommend to the ZBA that we'd look forward to them trying to approve this if possible, when it gets to that point.
Selectman Tropiano?
I totally agree with Ms. Whiteside. I think that $40,000 is great, and the money is great, believe me. I mean, it's nice somebody comes in and asks us money. But $40,000 now and $40,000 in 25 years, I can remember, 25 years ago, I think you could buy a car for about $2,500. And today it's $20,000. So, there's a big difference in the disparity. So if we lock ourselves in there for that length of time.
Well, we have Mr. Sullivan to negotiate deals for us, so that's part of his,
without tying it into
his purview.
Well, I would suggest that it was tied to the index or something of that nature, so that there was some, over course of time,
I believe that when this first came up, they were actually only talking about $20,000. So if they're going with this 40, they're looking, I believe, trying to spread it out, probably amortizing it out that way, because the original amount was 20.
Well, I'm basically saying 20 aside is basically
No, it was
40,000.
No, originally there was 10 aside, I
10
believe.
aside.
So.
Well, I don't know.
I
totally
think
agree
Mr.
with
Sullivan's
her. I think
already
that's
done some work in this regard, given the disparity between the two numbers, the initial and where we are now. So
We're gonna try and
we
get
should we should probably not try to negotiate something before we're in the process anyway.
Hold on a second. First off, they're asking me what I think of this project, and I have to say what I have to think. And part of this is that's what I think. I think that 25 years from now, it's not the same. And I'm certainly don't want to see the sign go away, never. I mean, I'm one of those people that thinks business is a good thing, as you well know. And but on the other hand, if that's what's going to happen, that's fine. If he's going to negotiate something, that's fine too. That makes a difference for me as well. But I certainly have the right to bring this up. And I'm not asking to negotiate it here in the middle of this meeting.
Okay, fair enough. Anything else from the board? Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience and waiting to make your appearance.
Thank you.
Appreciate that as well.
Can we throw in a new projector?
Thank you very much.
Can we
Thank you.
Yeah, just to reiterate, this was not the fault of the Clear Channel computer. It was rather the fault of our aged projector. Okay, next item, please.
For years they've done that. I think they still do that. I think they still do it with like big wallpaper sheets, and they push it up there.
Next item is the Master Plan Committee update status. No, I think we had it on there to see if the Master Plan Committee had met and everybody was in place. Do we know if all the different boards, the different organizations have sent in
Yeah, there's a thing in here.
we have Water Pollution Control Facility, Wareham Water, CETA, Planning. I have listed here. Conservation Commission, I see Mrs. Slavens is that one. Finance Committee, I don't have a note on, we want to check on that. Affordable Housing Trust, Steve Suey.
Yes, that was voted.
Yep.
The most recent meeting.
And we're still waiting for someone from the Onset Water District as well. So I would say right now the Finance Committee, School Committee, I don't think, Mrs. Whiteside, were you on the master plan committee? Did we actually assign anybody from the board?
Did any of us get assigned to that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, not to my knowledge.
I don't have the answer.
Let's go
I
back and,
wasn't-
we'll have to go back and check the agendas.
See if you have any notes.
Not recently.
Well, I know we discussed it. I know we discussed the composition of it.
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
We talked about.
Yeah, I can't remember actually a motion and a vote to appoint one of us.
We talked about the time commitment because it's a 2-year plus project. It's not gonna go away in a week.
Two-year commitment, we should probably take somebody who doesn't have to run for office in the next couple of years. Looking at a couple of gentlemen to my right.
Yeah, to my left.
We're trying to box you in here.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be 2 to 2.5 years, so both of you would have that, at least that much time, so it's. You are it.
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
Which one of you guys wants to be the head cheese? I move that Patrick Tropiano be appointed to the Master Plan Study Committee.
Second.
Master Plan Committee, and that Stephen Holmes be the alternate.
For a term of...
For a term to expire.
That makes it a felony.
June of 2015?
Yeah, June 2015.
June of
Okay,
two-
motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Slavin. Anything on the question? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you, gentlemen. Next item, please.
Okay. Hopefully the committee will start meeting soon. Keep Mr. Tufts busy.
Before we move along, then I'd make a motion that the chairman send a letter to the chairman of the school committee, finance committee in Onset Water District and get their representative assigned.
Second.
Post haste.
Let me just make the note. So we got FinCom, school committee,
Onset Water District.
That should complete it.
Onset.
How many we have at large?
We
Okay,
just
got
did
it.
at large.
Okay, motion made by Selectman Holmes, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. So get that out this week.
Give me 1 second here, please.
Yep.
We had 3 citizens at large on this committee. I think we have 2 now. Jeff's one, I think somebody else. No? Mrs. Sullivan, can you check the office and see if we have anybody listed as an at-large? Sorry, it's not here in the paperwork. I also have for the committee some course material and books on master plan committee and references, et cetera, for them whenever they need it.
So we're still, so this list on the front's not complete, so we still need these 3 reps and 2 more citizen at larges?
I think there's one. I think we already appointed someone before.
We just appointed,
Jeff is one, but there's somebody.
oh, there's somebody else you already did?
I think we did.
Dave
Yeah, I
on
think
there?
I might have been.
Did you volunteer, David?
No.
You didn't? Oh, you should.
Yes.
He just did.
David would do a nice job in that.
I can make a motion if you'd like.
I'll be looking for that application tomorrow in Town Hall.
Yeah, we did. I can't remember the man's name. He lives down on Indian Neck.
Yes.
Jepson?
Yes.
Mr. Jepson.
Yes,
We have
Mr.
two.
Jepson.
We have two. We need one more, so the public, we still need one more at-large member.
I see one in the
Master
back
Plan
row.
Committee.
Let's jump to the oyster closure.
Did David do it or not?
Gary's waiting.
Yes.
I think he can do
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for your patience, gentlemen. We're gonna jump ahead and take up the matter of the discussion and vote on extension of oyster closure. Thank you for your indulgence.
See, you get papers now.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I'm here tonight with
side.
Greg Sawyer. He's our biologist for this area. He covers most of Buzzards Bay, and just coming in support of what we're trying to accomplish. Last year in January, we proposed to the board to shut down the oyster fishery due to some depletion and concerns of protecting the stock that we have. We do have a 3-year window within that state law that allows us to keep this fishery closed, and I strongly recommend it to finish off the closure period. For a temporary approach, it's not a friendly approach, unfortunately, but in the best interest of a fishery that is vital to this area, I think it's a step that we really need to take. We've really jumped into this oyster rehab program, both feet. We've done 250,000 oysters so far in our upweller with good success. We have some oysters that we started at 2 millimeters in June, and we're up to 2.25 inches on growth in a matter of a few months. Ben Sutter, I can't thank him enough. He's been on our side helping us with this program because we're mimicking methods that he is using in his aquaculture site in town, which has got an amazing growth rate. He's a very productive grower in our town, and he's really stepped up to help us. He's the godfather of oysters in this town, and he's really, I can't thank him enough for that. We are seeing spat on the culch that we did transplant with the Makepeace Neighborhood Fund. We submitted a request for funding towards this project, and they did support us with almost the whole amount that we requested, and they gave us $8,000 towards this project on top of what we're allowed to put into it. And we made a few big investments this year on shellfish between the growing process, which is the top of the line process for growing harvestable oysters very quickly. And we also did a quahog transplant this year on top of all of the oystering. So we've really made a movement on trying to stimulate some of the growth here. Oysters are a wild creature. They're filter feeders. They help with the water quality. A good oyster stock and really probably one of the most least expensive methods of water quality cleaning up. They also they act as like a Tums in the waterways. We have acid that levels that raise. They have a calcium carbonate in their shell, which a good stock also helps reduce some of this acid from acid rains, such as what you're seeing all over the place. So it has a lot of positive effects. Unfortunately, I know it's a 3-year closure completely, but in the long term, I think it's a fishery that's been in this town for 100+ years, and it's been the primary fishery. And we're really trying to do what we can to protect it and bring it back to some good levels. I've in the forms that were attached, there's a definition under the Chapter 130, Section 54, which defines the total closure. I highlighted in yellow the primary portions for this case. I've defined to you what we've done basically with the culch. We've distributed 80 yards of clean shell culch to areas that we know have a history of reproducing oysters. We have a small window to be able to put that stuff out. Unfortunately, we have to play water temperatures and things of that nature because we need to get that shell in at a certain time. So it's sensitive timing for us, and with a lot of things going on, we were really under the gun. So we got about 80 out, and I have another 100 yards available to me, ready to go for next season, where we're going to look into areas in Buttermilk Bay, also in the Wareham River. So probably the next expansion next year with another 250,000 oysters will go to the same growing cages that we currently have now, and that will be placed in the Wareham River on a shellfish grant that's held by the town. Thank you.
Thank you. What is your take on this as the science end of things here?
As far as Gary's doing it, and I talk to him all the time, I think he's doing it in the correct way. Because a lot of towns will close certain shellfish beds, either areas or species, for 2 to 3 years to let them propagate and get back up. And with the lack of oysters in the Wareham onset area, I think it was the prudent thing to do. And plus, when on top of that, you're purchasing seed, growing it out to a high survivability size before you broadcast them into the areas, I think that's tremendous. The main thing you have to do is put biomass in the water, and those will spawn, and hopefully it'll just keep perpetuating an awful lot of oysters. So I think Gary's doing it the right way.
Thank you. Questions from the board? I see all kinds of hands up. I'll start with Selectman Tropiano.
Well, how does this affect the shellfish grants?
This will not affect the shellfish grants at all. The shellfish grants that we have in town, which are the least grants, they're doing the same thing we do. We purchase all our stock from a grower, and then they grow it out and then they sell it. So there is no effect from it. And the amount of product that they have in the water, I mean, we're looking at spawn cycles that do come from them also, and that's what we're looking at also. One of the things that you hear a lot about is dermo. Is obviously one of the diseases that we have, which really affects oysters. And the oysters that we're growing right now are actually genetically manipulated, basically, to be resistant to dermo. So these guys they're not going to see the same issues as the natural set that we see now. And speaking to the hatcheries and things of that nature, what they're looking at is how strong is the spawn past it, and they feel that the next spawn will show signs of this resistance also. It may deplete over time, but it's still showing that it can deflect some of this issue.
That's one of the things I've been concerned about. Oysters, we've had a lot of problems with them. And a matter of fact, they get to a certain size and then they were dying.
Correct.
They were just going away, and that was it. And it's been a problem in general. I know I've talked to a lot of the grant guys. Of course, Charlie lives on my street,
Absolutely.
and I talked to Charlie, and he knows just about everything about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
He's been doing it forever. And it's a problem for us. And I know that something needs to be done. The concern I have is that you close it for 3 years, and the stock that's there just keeps dying and just keeps happening, and nothing gets resolved. And so I want to see that happen. The other thing I don't want to see happen is I don't want to see it be like the herring, which got closed and never reopened.
Right, and I can actually address that at another point. But
I mean, the herring run, they closed it for they were going to close it for 3 years, I think it was.
Correct.
And it's not opened. It's never opened. So I'm a little concerned about that because, I don't want to see this get to the point where we never see any oysters again because we're protecting them from something. I don't know.
Absolutely, that was a state blanketed closure that took place, and they keep extending it. Where this is more of on a town matter, and I really don't want to take away a fishery from somebody, and I really would like to see the fishery come back.
So would I.
But right now, I think the growth rates that we're seeing from some of the oysters, there's mortality even in the stuff that we have, unfortunately. That's what happens. All the growers see it, and it can fluctuate. But I think we're going in the absolute wrong direction if we don't make some kind of progress towards this. And I like I said, I hate to take the fishery away from people for this time, but I feel that if we're seeing growth rates of 2.25 inches since June.
That's actually over the growth where they were dying, right? I think it was
they
somewhere
yes,
around 2 inches, wasn't it? When they were
oysters, when they start, It's about, yeah, just
Yeah,
before
2.5.
marketable or harvestable,
Right.
they do die out, they open up.
Right.
But we still, I mean, we have natural oysters in town. They are still there. I have a gentleman that I keep in contact with in Buttermilk Bay, and he found an oyster that was literally all of 6 inches in length. It's an enormous oyster. And I've seen it in Buttermilk Bay where there's a lot of large oysters, which I like to see because they're surviving. So next year is going to be a focus of let's see where we can get some shell to Buttermilk Bay and try and utilize some of the stock that's surviving in there to try and catch that spat with the shell and go from there. And these are methods that are being used from Maryland up here. Basically, it's a recycling basically of shell. It's catching spat. It's doing it. It's there is some risk involved, but we have to do something, and I think we're pushing in the right direction. And our oysters are looking good. We were out the other day with it. We try to keep up, putting it out there, showing the growth rates too.
Okay,
So.
I would request that for us that we that you keep us up to date over the course of this closure of how it's going and what's happening and so on. The only reason why is because I'm interested. I don't know about these guys, but I believe they're interested too. And I've been concerned about this for quite some time, and I'd like to see it come back. But if it's not working, I want to know that too, because I think we should try to get it going another direction. If
Sure,
that's the case.
absolutely. On the second page, I actually did put that into the requested motion, was that an update to the board does need to be brought on a yearly basis. Right. And I think about 6 months prior to, if we can come back with some management ideas and see how we want to control the fishing practices of what we have out here, to try and not stop the practice, allow it to take place, but how can we fish it to the point where it's being harvested, but yet it's not being wiped out.
Okay, thank you.
Selectman Holmes?
Yeah, I happen to agree with Patrick here. However, I disagree with the process. I was here in January 29th of 2013. I would support the motion, but I'm not supporting any. I don't support any kind of closure for 3 years. Just as we just talked about, $40,000 today isn't worth that 20 years from now. So, I would. And the way you get these important updates, Patrick, is by having this deadline keep coming up, and then they come in and tell you all about it. Although I was a little disappointed we didn't get more information prior to 9/20. So I would support the continued extension of the closure, but no way for 3 years. If you want to do it for another 9 months or something, and come back in May, the end of May, and then extend it out again with the intention of meeting the harbor master's needs. However, if you have a great turnaround, that could be open in less than 3 years. Right. So, anyway, I wasn't
to your
asking
point,
for your comment. I would support it if it was a shorter term.
Yeah, to your point, Steve, I believe.
Could I just add something, Selectman Holmes, that
If it's okay with him, you can.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I
absolutely.
indicated.
He gave me the okie dokie, so I can go that way. One thing that's very important, and I've seen these for the 28 years I've been in marine fisheries as a biologist working all over the state, is that when you put enough shellfish in and then they start spawning year after year, I think a 3-year closure, in my opinion, independent of what you people decide, is appropriate, because the animals that Gary puts out next year and broadcasts them over the oyster beds, those will spawn next summer. So if you did that for two or three consecutive years, the spawn that's in the water that can settle out, especially on the culch and around the shorelines, is just going to exponentially increase. That's most likely what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you open it prematurely to that, you may be taking pre-spawn animals out of the water.
Right. I'm not suggesting that it open within 3 years.
Mhm.
I'm not suggesting that it open on the 36th month plus 1 day. All I'm doing is extending the closure, and we'll just keep getting these reports and keep extending the closure and keep. That's fine. It takes 5 minutes. I mean, there's a lot of discussion tonight, but it takes 5 minutes to do that. But it does let people know that you are paying it. You're not just going to close it he's gonna go off and do his thing for 3 years, and then we're gonna come back and revisit it. I think it's an important issue in town. And if people know that he may have an area that he'll say, hey, guys, you know, and ladies, I think he could open that under a limited condition. But we've already passed the regulation, this is closed for 3 years. So, you know, I don't think we've ever voted against the closure. I mean, we supported the closure last year, right, till now. So I don't have an issue with the closure. I have an issue with 3 years.
Okay, the only reason
it should be a moving target, as you
Absolutely.
just stated. It should be a moving target. So I think if we just continue to extend the closure for whatever, 8, 9 months, whatever, you want to do something in June and December, that's fine with me. Twice a year look at it for the next 3 years, that's fine with me too.
The only reason I had mentioned something, sir, is because when you had mentioned maybe open it in 9 months, and that would probably be pre-spawn next year. That's the only reason I had mentioned something.
I was just using an example.
Okay, I apologize, I just thought.
I'd just like to add
I just like
also-
to keep it flexible, you know, so that we do that.
On the closure, we're approaching almost the first year also of the closure from last year.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we'd only be looking
So
at
we
2
haven't hurt
years
anybody.
and 2 years and a
Yeah.
few months, give or take. So
We haven't, and we didn't hurt anything by having a closure. I forget what the actual date is.
if people want to come out and see the oyster progress that we do have, I mean, this is a continuous operation. I mean, I'm more than happy to take anybody out to take a look at the bags and see the growth. And
I just
it's
prefer,
really,
Mr. Chairman, a date, and we can just keep extending it. That's fine.
Well, that's
I
a
know.
possibility. The other thing is, given what appears to be a pretty broad grant of discretion to the Board of Selectmen, I would think that if the harbor master comes back in and says, hey, guess what, I don't need 3 years for this area, you can have a limited opening over here, that he could certainly do so, to your point. So I think it could work that way as well.
That's one way. I want to go in the other way.
Well, Selectman Whiteside?
I have at least 3 questions. What type of oyster is it, please?
It's American oyster, Crossosseria virginica. It's an eastern seaboard oyster.
Okay, so it's basically
It's native.
it's a native that has been altered.
Well,
some way.
Some of the hatcheries have strains, and some are disease resistant, as Gary had said, which is basically because Buzzards Bay has been hit with MSX and Dermo very, very hard in the early 90s through now, that a lot of towns don't have many oysters at all, which is what's kind of happened in the Wareham River, Weeweenack River, and in Nauset Bay. And that's why the hatchery stock sometimes fares better than a natural stock. So the more hatchery stock you put out there and that spawns out, you can potentially get a more resistant oyster to the diseases that are present in Buzzards Bay.
Because they're actually in the environment that they're going to be living in.
Because the oysters from a hatchery, which Gary purchased to do his oyster project, have been, through generations of spawning, a more resistant oyster to some of the diseases.
Okay. So these would be the same kind of oyster that would be found in the Chesapeake Bay or something like that?
And throughout Buzzards Bay, Cape Cod, Mount Phoenix.
Second of all, how, this is to Mr. Buckminster, the marking of the area that you have closed off has caused what I would call visual pollution that some people have mentioned. So I'm going to ask you, how are you going to mark off the areas that are in fact closed? I understand that the spat doesn't stay in the bags. It will in fact infiltrate throughout that area, that body of water. But how do you know?
Right now, I know exactly what you're talking about. We do have cages that are in Broad Cove, which are holding the oysters that we took out of the oyster cages right now. We have to winter these oysters, and these cages are designed that once the temperatures are within range of, we're looking at freezing, we're looking at a few different issues. The cages are actually submerged for the whole winter, so you won't even see the cages. And then probably around...
But they have to be marked because they're a navigational hazard.
No, absolutely. They're marked with flotation devices that, like we do with our speed markers. They're reflective. The shellfish grants have them also. But the areas that we put them in are not highly navigable. One is actually around a boulder that's off of the swim area, and we were over at the site the other day looking at ways that we could actually turn them to basically line them up so you're just seeing strings, or move them in towards like areas where there's tree lines that would go. So I mean, the cages are movable. It's just moorings that hold them. I think there's one boat in the area where one or two boats where the cages are currently, and it's again, it's in a shallow area. I mean, it could stand there at low tide.
I think you've answered the question. You had a final point?
No, I just want to say that I think this is a very worthwhile endeavor. I agree with you 100% that it should be a 3-year program, but I would count the year that you've sort of already had.
Okay.
I saw you out there the other day raking or, spreading whatever you were doing. I think it's great. It was one of our original exports from this town, and hopefully it can be again today or in a couple of years.
Okay. Thank you. I know Selectmen Holmes, what I think procedurally we'll do here, out of respect for I haven't allowed Selectman Slavin's input yet. He had his hand up.
It's good to see you again. It's been a long time. Just for background, I used to be a Marine Fisheries Commissioner for the Division of Marine Fisheries back in the late 80s, 90s. It's been a while. We've basically contacted all the stakeholders, Gary, on this again,
Yes,
because I know I have certain friends that obviously have been catching oysters around Onset Island, et cetera. So, we have any idea what a loss of income has been to the town as far as that goes?
I can break that down for you. I mean, there's our permits are about the same commercially, and we're staying pretty steady on recreational permits. We average about 1,200 to 1,300 recreational licenses, and between a lot of the commercial guys, they buy the master digger license, which covers all species. So they use the soft shell clam still, they use the quahog, they use the scalloping.
But the stakeholders themselves are willing to let this go another couple of years.
If they want a fishery, I think they really should think about it too.
But have you actually?
No, I have not asked. I mean, their support was 100% behind this project the last time.
It would be good to see whether or not they're going to survive 3 years out. I know that I was over with Mike Bessie looking at his project probably about 3 months ago, and it was interesting that he had a different strain. He's basically developing something with its own brand they're marketing, and I'm surprising how fast it's growing as well. And in that area, I think there was 3 other grant holders all in that same area doing very well.
Yeah, Ben Sutter's he's got the internal, he's got the grant that's surrounded by Mr. Bessie, yes.
Well, again, my experience has been that on this type of thing, because the culture, with the water conditions, with the tides that are going out, with storms, really makes this very dependent. It's kind of almost like, it's not really a science, it's more like a lot of luck as much as everything else involved, because things move. It's one of the reasons we never know what we're going to have for scallops, really. They're there, you see stuff there, and then come the actual growing season, they're gone, because they've moved off somewhere. I'd be more or less, happy to go another. This is 1 year in, go 2 years, but I wouldn't mind having Gary come back to us on a 6-month basis and just give us a report so we know where we're at, if that would cover what Mr. Holmes wants. But I know that from my own experience back with the fisheries, I know it takes a good 2.5 years cycling minimum, sometimes 3. Hopefully we're not in a situation where the disease comes back out of nowhere, because there's 2 different diseases out there. And I think there's been issues over at Wellfleet, because they don't really grow oysters there. They pick them and they have to drop them. They don't generate them here. We actually grow them here, which is a big difference.
Well, how do we want to proceed here? I mean, what we can do is, we seem to have 2 selectmen who support a shorter period of time.
Mr. Chairman, please don't change my words around. I have no issue with the Harbor Master's recommendation of a 3-year program. I didn't have an issue with it last year when I voted for it. My only issue is that, according to this motion, that it expires in 2016.
Correct.
And I'm not a fan of sitting here in 2013 closing something until 2016.
Well, that's exactly the point. That's what this motion requires.
Just extend it for 6 months and keep extending it, and if it's 4 years, it's 4 years.
Well, my point
I don't
here.
have an issue with that. I
Well,
support the program.
Again, my point here was the process, and we have a motion that's been requested by the harbor master. What I would suggest is we vote on this. If you're opposed to that particular time frame being voted tonight, then I guess the vote would be no, and then there would be a different motion brought forward. So I'm just trying to get the process here so that people have an opportunity to opine as to what your concerns are.
And what I listed
May I
is
just ask
strictly
a
an
question
offering,
of
so.
Mr. Buckminster? Would you object to having your motion read 2015?
Like I said, I'm willing to work with whatever we want to do here for this. So
Just a yes or no, sir.
You could do it, yes.
Thank you. I make a motion to extend the closure period for the harvesting of oysters until January 29th, 2015, within the waterways of the town of Wareham. The time frame is not to exceed the 3 years allowable by the Division of Marine Fisheries, understanding that we're already almost a year in.
Correct.
Further, a biannual report of the aquaculture efforts will be given to the Board of Selectmen, and 6 months prior to the reopening of the oyster fishery, a management plan be proposed to the Board of Selectmen defining oyster fishery management efforts and regulations for future harvesting.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen, and thank you for your
Good night.
indulgence while we dealt with other matters at length. Let's see, next item on the agenda, please.
Next item would be the vote to authorize the chairman to sign the CEDA grant amendment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0. We'll get that done. Next item, please.
Just sign away. Next item would be the discussion on town fees. Those were selectmen fees.
Yes. I asked that the Board of Selectmen fees be copied and put into your packets. And as a bonus, we discovered that Plymouth County had also done a report on fees throughout Plymouth County on certain things. So what I'd ask is that we put this on the agenda for 2 weeks from now, and with an eye toward looking to increase any fees that we can, effective December 31st or earlier.
Yes, I can do that. In the meantime, perhaps we can get some comparative analysis prepared.
It's right here.
You got it right in the second piece? Okay.
Somebody
That's
already-
right. We had that
somebody already did
exchange
that.
earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it gives us some information about what towns in our county do. Does not cover some of our contiguous towns, but we can make a couple of phone calls. I'd be happy to do that and find out what the fees.
Yeah, that would be
in
good. The
those-
more information, the better. And also, you have indicated to the town clerk that you're looking into this as well, I understand?
Yes, I've actually spoken directly with the town clerk. The town clerk has certain fees that she is responsible for setting and collecting. They have nothing to do with any of these on this page. Her fees are listed on her website page, and these are listed under the Selectmen website page. I just thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there so people knew exactly what we were talking about and we weren't treading on somebody else's toes here.
That's correct. So they're basically alcoholic licenses, public amusement, auctioneers, that kind of thing. So again, I think it's incumbent upon us, maybe we don't even raise them, but I think we should be looking at them on an annual basis as a source of income.
Thank you for your foresight. Next item, please.
Continued discussion of the warrant articles and favorable action votes. We have gotten a packet today, the notification of the paperwork on Cranberry Lane, which is the item which is for street acceptance. The planning board forwarded off from George Barrett, the planning chairman, that Charles Rowley and the Dave Bernard, interim director of municipal maintenance, basically says all items noted in the September 16, 2013 site inspection have been satisfactorily addressed. A street acceptance plan has been submitted with the necessary descriptions, meets and bounds, including structure outside of the road layout, to the planning board and the board of selectmen. The planning board voted 4-0-0 last night to recommend to the board of selectmen the acceptance of Cranberry Lane. The only question I'm going to have, which council's not here, is how is the road going to be turned over to the town? Is it going to be an easement, or is there going to be through the owners, the homeowners, a sale of some kind at $1 or what? That's one question that's outstanding, but that can be taken care of somewhere down the line.
Selectman Tropiano, I think you've got the answer for this one.
No, there's no dollar payment or any of that stuff. The town accepts, and by the way, town meeting only accepts the layout of the road.
Correct. We still have to go back and accept
And there's
it afterwards.
exactly, and there's a sheet, a Mylar, that shows the actual meets and bounds of the road, which then gets recorded. And matter of fact, a copy of it has already been recorded at some point when the subdivision was done, and then that portion that becomes our acceptance. That's what we're saying. We're going to accept the road, and what we're doing is accepting. Basically, we're accepting to keep the road up, to take care of it.
I believe when we asked town council about this, it normally said the easiest way to do it is through an easement.
But that's
No,
after the fact with town
this-
meeting. I think what we're doing here is just accepting the layout for
No,
town meeting.
no, the
I don't
town
think we need
doesn't-
to ask that question tonight.
Please,
the
wait a
town-
minute. I'm just explaining that that was the procedure that we have put together as far as the new procedure. All I'm saying is town meeting votes to whether or not we accept the road. The board of selectmen comes back and then we accept it. You can wait till town council's back here,
No,
but
that's
he
not
was
true.
he-
That's not true.
Patrick, I'm not going to argue
They
with you tonight
accept,
about it.
the town meeting just accepts the layout of the road, period. That's all
Yes,
they accept.
And then we come back and vote
Okay?
whether to accept
And we
it.
vote. We don't need an easement to accept the town road. There's
re-
no such thing. An easement means they're giving us right across the property. You gotta know the difference between what an easement is and whatever. That's not what we're doing here. We're
Wait.
just accepting the way.
I'm just saying,
It's very
wait,
simple.
we'll wait until town council's here for that piece.
You don't
Well,
need
we can
town
approve this
council for
condition,
that.
we can approve this, a motion can be crafted to address both concerns, and then council can push us either to A or B. So why don't we have a motion to accept the layout of the way and/or an interest in an easement on Cranberry Lane?
No, it's not an interest of an easement.
I'm
We're
just
not
trying to,
taking
I'm just,
an easement.
I get it, but I'm just trying to alleviate his concerns so we can get a vote.
Well, then you better wait until town council comes, because we're not accepting any easement. We're not taking an easement on a town way. We're taking the way. We're accepting the way. It's clear in the law how it works.
I make a motion that we table this for 1 week to be discussed before, in our meeting, in our regular session before we meet.
Monday night,
Yes,
and then we'll
thank
have
you.
the advice of council.
Yes.
I can propose the question to him and
I'm
ask,
sorry, I
have him
just
get
keep-
back to the
I'm
board.
tired of the bickering.
Yep, it's
Well-
only, just so everybody's in, this is just a favorable action vote, whether or not we want to bring forth a town meeting, street acceptance only. The other piece I
That we
mentioned
can
is
do.
just after the fact, not part of this.
Absolutely.
Fine.
So
Then-
if you would like, go ahead and make the motion to go ahead for street
Okay,
acceptance.
let me withdraw my motion and try it again.
Thank you.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote favorable action to submit the layout and street acceptance plan of Cranberry Lane as previously voted by the Planning Board. No?
No, it's actually an article, right?
Yes,
What
it is a
article
warrant
are we voting?
article.
So you just move favorable action on Article what? Which article is it?
That's all we're doing.
Oh, I do, yeah. Wait a minute. Go back to my article page. I had them all listed right
I have it in here, I just, I have to go through it. What
What was
article
the-
is it?
what's the name
The
of
article
It's
for
neglected.
Cranberry Lane, for Cranberry Lane.
It's in the 20s, I
It's
think.
gotta be in the 20s somewhere.
It's right here.
Flaherty, planning board, did it go through the planning board?
Yes,
Go ahead.
it's Article 19.
There you go.
Last-
Okay.
Favorable action on Article 19.
Second.
Member acceptable, we can come back by BOS.
That's all it is.
Okay, motion made by, who made it?
Patrick made the
Pat-
motion, Alan seconded it.
Okay, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you for arriving at a result.
Okay, planning board last night, due to issues with one of the town engineers and some questions, was unable to put together the TDR to make the changes necessary in the time frame and get another public hearing done. So they had decided by the planning board vote they would pull the TDR and it would come back in the spring. Just a simple explanation is that we got to this kind of late. Serpent, who was working for the town doing this, as everybody understands, was not contracted till way past the time frame. Their goal was to have this ready for us at the end of December. They actually went ahead and tried to do some work for us, but was unable, from my end, to get this all put together and done. It went through the public hearing cleanly. And to sit and rush it through and not be correct was not going to be worthwhile. So the planning board did vote to pull the TDR.
I move that we have no action on Article 20, TDR right.
Second.
Motion for no action made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained.
Aye.
What was your vote, Selectman Holmes? Opposed. 410.
Next item up was the...
hang on a second. Listen, this thing is being kicked around like a football. And as the Board of Selectmen, I'd make a motion to direct our town administrator to make sure, I don't care about employee issues, that he makes sure that this is fully vetted and on the April town meeting 2014.
We all agree.
We all agree.
We can drive the process.
I'm putting it in a form of a motion because we all agreed last year.
You know, look, I was at that meeting last night, and I mean, I'm all in favor of this TDR, and I think we all are. I think we all are. But to be honest with you, Charlie Rowley brought up some really good stuff that was just not.
I will second Mr. Holmes's
And so
motion.
I wasn't, I'm just saying,
just
I want it, I don't want no more, and there's the man who can make that happen. He's the only one in the room who can make it happen. So I'd like a motion. Somebody seconded it, I'd like a vote.
Yep, we got a motion made by Selectman Holmes,
Thanks,
seconded by Selectman Whiteside to direct the town administrator to do everything within his capacity to get this on the town meeting warrant for spring 2014. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Thank you.
Because it would have been done if it had.
Yeah, well, it was. I guess it got late in the process. So.
Article 22?
The next one was the zoning tables.
Oh,
The planning board is going
24.
to pull that article due to basically some of the work being done. They could not find paperwork and backup to guarantee everything on those zoning tables were correct.
I will move
Further
no
study?
action.
Not further
on-
study, they're just going to pull the article, and then Charlie's already done some of the work, but whoever becomes a planner, whoever it picks up, will have to go back on the other pieces.
Okay, but I think with zoning articles, and trust me if tell me if I'm wrong, but I think with zoning articles, if you take a no action motion on town meeting floor on a zoning article, it can't come back for 2 years.
It's not a no action, they're going to pull the article, so there'll be no discussion at all.
So they're going to further study it.
You can say further study, they can also just pull the article
Well,
beforehand.
we have to do something with it. You can't just pull it.
Well, that's up to the presenter.
You know what I'm
Which
saying?
is the planning board in this
Well, I'm
instance.
just trying to make a point so that we don't get ourselves in a mess here.
Yeah.
No, but we can make a no action vote because there's nothing to vote on.
Yeah, town meeting's not going to follow us,
We'll
believe
see
me.
how they present it, I guess.
Yeah, FinCom is going to make the motions at town meeting. I'm sure they're aware
We'll
of.
see how they present it. I hope that they
Parliamentary
present it
procedure.
properly, because otherwise you're stuck 2 years without doing anything to it.
Signed by law, let's do the marijuana one first. What number is that, Judy?
22, medical marijuana
That one,
treatment
as
center.
presented, was passed by the planning board. That's going before town meeting. So
I
I'll make a
move
motion. Go ahead.
I move favorable action on Article 22, establish zoning bylaw, medical marijuana treatment centers.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Slavin. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. We're coming up
Mr.
against 10
Chairman, I
o'clock.
make a motion to go past the hour at 10, but no later than 10:15.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
500.
Last
Carry on.
is the signed bylaw. There were changes recommended during the public hearing. The changes were made. And the planning board voted to go ahead with the article with the amended changes. That was unanimous vote of 4-0-0.
I move favorable action on Article 23, the sign regulations, as corrected, amended, and forwarded by the planning board as of October or whatever yesterday was. Just favorable action.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Slavin. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain?
I want to say something about it, though.
Is it a 4-1?
4-1-0.
Thank you.
I want to say something about it. There are some things in this document that I like, but there are things in this document that I don't like.
I'm sure we'll hear about them at town meeting.
You will, especially at this particular juncture. And that's why I voted against it. It's not a bad document. There's just some regulation in there that we're putting on businesses at a bad time that I just think is the wrong thing to do at this particular time.
No, fair enough. Thank you for articulating your position. Next.
Any other town business in the last 48 hours not anticipated? Mrs. Whiteside?
Liaison reports?
No, I think that comes after Mr. Sullivan.
You haven't got
Oh, yeah.
Mrs. Sullivan yet. Patrick?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Holmes?
Well, I do have liaison reports.
We haven't got there yet.
Town Administrator's report is before that on the agenda.
Mr. Holmes?
Mr. Sullivan? 48-hour business?
48-hour business.
I said no.
Oh, okay.
Too quiet.
Thank you.
You're already on to
No.
Derek.
Oh,
I have nothing.
neither do I.
I just want to do a quick update. We're receiving a lot of calls in the office, and we had a meeting several months ago, I believe, announcing that we were plowing for the winter on the private ways for this winter. So I want people to be reminded of that and understand it. We are plowing private ways this winter. In the spring, at the ballot, I believe there's a citizen bring before it the proper petition in order to accept the Mass General laws to properly do that. That is the important part. I believe it's the young lady that runs the Gumbo show.
It is. That's Pat Rumney, and she's taken it upon herself to go out there, get the proper form of the petition. She's taking care of all that, and I'm sure we can actually get her information, I suppose, and put it out during the announcements at some point again. At one point, she was here and gave contact information, but Selectman Slavin?
Mrs. Whiteside, did we vote on the FEMA maps, by the way, previously?
We do have a prior vote, a favorable action vote on that. It was 2-1.
Okay, just very quick, I don't want to take too much time. At the hearing last night on that particular item, the public was really concerned about the FEMA maps. Selectman Tropiano was also very vocal on the whole issue. I believe what will happen is the planning board, I think, may ask town council at town meeting, what are the options to the town, not to say yes or no, but to put off a decision because of the extreme costs and the other issues that are going on besides just the FEMA maps itself.
And matter of fact, there's a suit going on against FEMA relevant to this. They asked us to enjoin, and we need to do some homework on that to see what it is exactly. Okay, you got it already?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, if you would continue.
Yeah, continuing on the private road issue. Some folks believe that when it's accepted to allow the snow plowing, that we are accepting their private roads and that we then can make repairs to them and such. It's just to allow the removal of snow and ice. We've already accepted the Mass General Law, which is Chapter 40, Section 6N, to make temporary repairs. It's Division 2, Article 1, Section 18 in our bylaws. Again, Division 2, Article 1, Section 18. It does not mean we can go down there and make repairs. 50% of the linear footage owners of the private way must come before the Board of Selectmen to request it. Then essentially, once the Board of Selectmen agree that it's a private way but it's open to the public, The municipal maintenance director will go down there and and determine the cost. And that cost is actually paid by the owners of the private ways. And the way it's set up, it should be paid in advance or betterments are placed on the properties. So if you have issues and you need some work and you cannot get the owners of the private way together, this is the proper way to do it. I will have it put on the website, and if you'd like copies of it, you can call the Selectmen Town Administrator's office, and we'll be able to send it out to you. This is a bylaw that was adopted by the town. My understanding is years ago. This is nothing new. So the next item is I'm excited to announce a memorandum of agreement for the town of Wareham and South Coast Healthy Housing and Worksite Initiative. That's from the YMCA South Coast. The South Coast Healthy Housing and Worksite Initiative, with the support of a 2-year grant from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention from October 2012 through September 2014, will improve heart and lung health in Fall River, New Bedford, and Wareham by reducing exposure of secondhand smoke in multi-unit housing and on workplace campuses with a special focus on behavioral health sites. In addition, we will take steps to improve health by working with employers to improve their healthy eating and active living workplace environment. Well, guess what? They want to be in the town of Wareham. And in the multi-service center, it's not the biggest room. Some may call it a closet, but we have room for them in there, and they will be working out of this building to help the town, help our employees, eventually helping the seniors as well, and paying us $2,000 rent annually. So not only will they be in here helping us, but for that space, it'll be $2,000 annually. So we appreciate having them in here. And I will be signing that memorandum of agreement with them.
This is a program that was started in New Bedford last year with South Coast and with the YMCA. It's been a very successful program. And Wareham, when I met one of the people that a year ago, they were targeting Wareham as their next stop because of our conditions as well.
I appreciate them thinking of us and working with us. The hour's late, and I'll stop there.
Mrs. Whiteside, reports?
Yes. I attended the school committee meeting October 16th. At that meeting, the school committee voted to withdraw the warrant article for the feasibility study for the Wareham High School roof, which is Article 13. So the proponents will be withdrawing that article as well. Also at that school committee meeting, the 2 principals were asked to talk about the MCAS scores in their schools, and in next week's meeting, the other 2 principals will be discussing their MCAS scores. For people who are interested, it used to be called the Department of Education or something like that. It's now called DESE, but you can actually Google MCAS, and you can get a copy of the test that all of the children in Wareham and all of the children in Massachusetts took last spring, and the answers are there too. So if you're interested to see what some of the questions were, go for it. As the cemetery liaison, I have to report that the chairman has been out of town for approximately a month and is not expected to return until early January. A second member has been unable to coordinate with the secretary at municipal maintenance in order to hold a meeting. The third member is available to attend a meeting at any time. So my report is that we have a board that we appoint that hasn't been able to accomplish anything in the past 6 weeks and won't probably through January.
Thank you.
I'm good. I'm all set.
Okay, I just have one thing. It's not really a liaison report from the committee, but you know, I've had the privilege for the past 6 months as chairman to work very closely with our office staff, which includes Shirley Oldfield, who just returned from a multi-week trip to go visit family in South Africa. Janet Wilson and Rebecca Figueroa, who sort of floats between the sewer facility and the selectman's office, and does an admirable job of pinch hitting. And you know, like Selectman Holmes last year, when he had the privilege of working with these people, I found them to be superlative in their performance of their duties, in their diligence. Frankly, at times, I think they manage me more than I manage them, which is a good thing for the town. And in particular, one of the things we do here, and I hear from selectmen everywhere, that it's difficult, is dealing with liquor issues, dealing with liquor permitting, liquor licensing. And we are fortunate to have one of the best in the business in Shirley Oldfield when it comes to liquor issues. She just can't be licked. So with that, I'd just like to make that call out to the board and to the public to let them know that we have a great staff in there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before that, just don't be surprised if you see Red Sox gear on tomorrow. We've allowed everybody to bring in their favorite Red Sox paraphernalia, so go Sox.
Does that include your designee?
Motion
I
to
kind of like
adjourn.
the Superman.
Could I just say one thing? I just want you to know that it's been terrific to finally meet one of your designees, by the way.
In better shape than me, too.
I also want you to know I had nothing to do with that.
Need a second here. Thank you.
Motion made to adjourn by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0. Thank you very much, everybody, for bearing with us tonight. Have a good night.